So we'll be starting in a minute. Kindly prepare yourself for the convocation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this convocation for the general elections of the UP Law Student Government for the academic year 2023 to 2024. I am Patricia Gadia, your host for today. For this convocation, the candidates will be given 2 minutes each to present their opening spiels. There will be a specific question and answer portion to the candidates based on the questions submitted online, which will be answerable for 1 minute. Any follow-up questions should be answered within 30 seconds. Candidates must also keep their Zoom video closed unless it is their turn to speak. To all the viewers in the live stream, you may still submit your questions on the provided Google form. The link is in the Elecom page and the Law Community Hub and is also being flashed on our screen. That's tinyurl.com/convocqge23. So now we will begin this convocation by hearing words from our candidates. Let us now call on the candidate for third-year batch representative, Selena Talusan.
So, good afternoon, UP Law. I am Selena Talusan from Block 2H, and I'm running for the position of third-year batch representative. As we have slowly transitioned from an online setup to a face-to-face mode of learning this past school year, we have come to encounter new challenges, such as trying to maintain an efficient system for all registration concerns, to learning and getting to know more about our own batchmates. Entering the new school year as third-year students, we might have to face even bigger challenges, and we'd ask ourselves, how can we possibly fit and address these challenges into one puzzle? As your batch representative, it is my duty to serve you, which I shall be doing through my plans SEL, S-E-L. S, streamlining connections and processes, E, enhancing batch engagement, and L, learning with awareness. So batchmates, in trying to fit all of the pieces of our lives into one coherent puzzle, let's solve that puzzle together. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Talusan. Now, let us hear from the next candidate, another one for the third-year batch representative, Mr. Mark Christian Chua.
Friends, batchmates, good afternoon. I'm Mark Chua of 2H in front of you today, offering myself to advocate for you and be your voice in the LSG. The 4 check marks will be my guiding compass as we journey through a #remarkable junior year. First check mark, makikinig. In any case, my proposed grievance mechanism will be an avenue for you to air your concerns wherever you may be. I don't possess all the knowledge and wisdom in the world, yet I'm humble enough to know that it's an act of disservice if I don't consult and listen to my constituents. Andito ako, malalapitan at makakausap nyo. Second, magsisilbi. Law school's already difficult as it is. It is therefore my job to make it easier for you. Lockers and carpool systems are basic facilities that a student should have access to. The academic rigors also come with the tendency to stay in our bubbles and just focus on our academic responsibilities. As scholars ng bayan, we also have a responsibility to serve the people. We need to step out of Malcolm and immerse ourselves in the community. Third, magbibigay alam. Transparency is key. You have the right to always be updated on current affairs, especially those that directly affect you. Texts and email blasts can let announcements reach you in a timely manner without disturbing your work and personal life boundaries. Lastly, magbubuklod. It goes without saying that law school can easily cause student burnout. To at least ease this pain, the support system of the batch needs to be concrete, apparent, and felt. And we can do this under my leadership. Gatherings, movie and tambay nights, and interblock competitions such as Amazing Race and Palarong Pinoy Sports Fest are some of the means to achieve this goal. With these check marks, a meaningful and holistic school year is guaranteed. Let's all buckle up for a hashtag remarkable junior year.
Thank you, candidate Chua. Now, let us hear from our candidate for fourth year batch representative, Jose Gabriel Agabin.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diego Agabin from Block UG, and I'm running for fourth year batch representative. I want to help build a community. I want to help build community and excellence within the batch. Community involves different opportunities for a batch to get to know one another even more, as well as being able to get to know the staff around Malcolm. Excellence, on the other hand, I believe includes activities not just only to prepare us for the fourth year, but also to be ready to face the world after law school. Our lives outside law school is also important to hone. And it's important to hone our different talents we have. And I want different opportunities for us to learn about other things as well. Finally, my plan for GradCom is to have a team working and to start generating funds as early as possible so that everything can already be smooth sailing when the time comes down to it. Once again, I am Diego Agabin, hoping to be your fourth year batch representative. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Agabin. Now, let us hear from the candidate for BGC Evening Representative, Ms. Bienel Aronales.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Bienal Aronales. Bien is my nickname, and I am from 2 BGC. I am running for BGC Evening Representative. My platform involves a Bien, so it's B, bringing back full use of campus facilities. I, interface, ideate and inform. E, express response to concerns, and N, ensure complete utility. So what do I mean by this? B, bring back full use of campus facilities. As we all know, we are back to face-to-face classes, and unfortunately, we don't have full use of our campus facilities. Therefore, I am championing to bringing this back at the very least until 12 midnight, since most of BGC evening students have classes until 10 p.m. So it would be best if we can use our campus facilities at least until midnight. I inform, ideate, and interface. As your BGC evening representative, I will be in charge of informing you of whatever changes have happened. And this is vis-a-vis, this is the vice versa communication. So from the students and to the admin, I will be in charge of letting you know what needs to be changed and if there are issues that need to be raised. E, express response to concerns. I want to be there and to answer concerns as quickly as I can so that these are brought to light immediately as they occur. And ensure complete utilities. What do I mean by this? Our campus only has one water dispenser, one microwave, and our CRs do not have toilet paper. So we are championing to bring these basic utilities so that we can have a comfortable campus experience. Again, I am Bian Aronales from BGCE 2, and I am hoping to be your BGCE representative. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Aronales. Now let us have Marco Gabriel Milian, who is running for BGC Day representative.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marco Milan, and I'm running for BGC Dare representative in the upcoming election. As your representative, I want to ensure that your voices are heard and that your needs are met. My campaign approach is all about make your mark with Marco. I believe that we as students have the power to make meaningful change and improvement to our law school experience. That's why I have 5 key priorities that I will focus on as your BGC Day rep. First, I want to mobilize our student body and encourage everyone to get involved in campus activities and initiatives. By working together, we can create a vibrant and engaged community here at BGC. Second, I will be a strong advocate for your needs and concerns. I'll listen to you and I will fight for the things that matter most to you. Third, I will be responsive to your concerns and work to address them in a timely and effective manner. I believe that communication is key and I will be accessible and open to feedback from all of you. Fourth, I believe in the power of teamwork and collaboration, and I will work closely with other student organizations and other campus stakeholders to build strong partnerships and make a positive impact on campus. Finally, I will remain open-minded to new ideas and perspectives. I believe that diversity and inclusivity are essential to our success as a community, and I will work to ensure that everyone feels welcome and heard. I hope that you'll consider voting for me in the upcoming election. Together, we can make our law school experience the best it can be. Make your mark with Marco. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Milian. Now, let us hear from another candidate for BGC Evening Representative, Alvea Joy Sikat.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am AV Sikat, and I'm also running to be your next BGC evening representative. So, as a working student, I am very much aware of the challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis, which is why my platform is ultimately focused on practicality. And these are the issues that are immediately in front of us. Since we have very limited time and energy, I plan to address the practical issues that confront us, starting from the small things to the more fundamental or important concerns. And my platform, apart from practicality, is summarized in the word PIC. P for practicality, I for inclusivity, and C for connectivity. Practicality is to make the BGC evening the working student experience a little more comfortable and conducive for students. Because as we know, sometimes coming from work, we go directly to the campus, we eat there, we drink water, and we do all of the things there before class. So I want to make it a little bit more comfortable for us in terms of the facilities. Inclusivity, create opportunities for us evening students to be more involved with the community. So this could be hobby groups, mentoring groups, and I also want to have more representation for the BGC community in the law student government. And then lastly, connectivity. This is maximizing what I believe is one of our greatest advantage as working students, which is our network. We all have our own industries. And as a person, I have always liked bringing people together. And if I could do that for our block, I hope to also be able to do that for the evening community as a whole, for us to share our networks, to meet each other, and maybe possibly go on events together. So that's pretty much it. Again, I'm AV CCAT, and I want to elevate your BGC evening work student life and practical steps. So that's me. Please pick AV CCAT as your evening representative.
Thank you, candidate Sikat. Now let us hear from another candidate for BGC Day representative, Gianfranco De Luna.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am Gianfranco De Luna, or Gian De Luna, your next BGC Day representative, ready to serve and represent BGC with Unite, Nurture, and Advocate as my compass. Unite emphasizes the importance of working together as a cohesive group, while Nurture highlights the need for individual growth and support. Advocate focuses on the role of the representative in representing and advocating for the batch's interests to the wider college community. Let's work together to create a harmonious and supportive community while also making sure that our voices are heard loud and clear. Remember, una ka kay De Luna and G na yan kay GM. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate De Luna. Now let us hear from our candidate for Iloilo Evening Representative, Earl Vincent Lencio.
Good afternoon. I'm Earl Vincent Lencio. You can call me Earl. This is actually my second time running for Iloilo Evening Representative in the same semester because it was actually just recently created as a position in the Central Board. So for my platforms, it's mostly the same actually. I'm planning to make our transition as we go into more face-to-face setup here in in the Iloilo campus. I'm planning to make it more seamless for my constituents, especially in the evening blocks, considering how most of us have employments in different parts of the Philippines that are not really located in the Iloilo area. So we're trying to give the necessary support for our constituents on that end as much as possible as we transition. Apart from that, of course, I want to embed this work-life balance, work-study-life balance in the Iloilo evening blocks. So during the times that we do face-to-face, of course, we do some mixer parties to somehow liven things up a bit, apart from having the face-to-face classes and having the different stresses that we individually face. So that's me. Um, I hope that you could vote for me as we go to the upcoming election. Also, side note, happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Thank you, candidate Lenshaw. Now let us hear from another from a candidate running for Iloilo Day representative, Joshua Cedric Carmen.
Good day, UP Law. I am Joshua Cedric Carmen from 1 Iloilo Day, your incumbent LSG Iloilo Day representative, and hoping to still be your next LSG Iloilo Day representative. In the special elections, I ran with a plan, closer UP Iloilo and close UP Law. And recently we had the chance to check those boxes when we got to do our face-to-face, not just in Iloilo, but in Diliman as well. And this helped start our integration into the UP Law community. And now that we've been integrated, our main focus would shift from connection to the maintenance and improvement of these connections. So for this year, our main goals are the easier and more efficient transition to face-to-face classes. We've heard your concerns about the recent plans to shift to hybrid, and we want to make sure that our concerns will be addressed ASAP. Second, the streamlining of concerns. We will continue to use our Messenger and Discord platforms, not just as a virtual library or as announcement channels, but as a way for you guys to raise your concerns to the LSG or to the admin. And also the assistance to the upcoming Iloilo freshmen. We hope to pass down the ways that we've learned of UP Law to our incoming freshmen. And among others, we still want to continue and finish what we started this year, particularly through events that will continue to build the bond and the camaraderie within the UP Iloilo community. So for the second time around, Serviciong Cedric to maintain and improve the connection of the City of Love to the UP Law community. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you, candidate Carmen. Now let us hear from the candidate running for Public Relations Officer, Jessica Chica.
Narinig niyo na ba ang latest chika? Pwes, ito na, mainit-init pa. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jessica Chica, running to be your next UP LSG PRO. Ano nga bang chika ang meron ako? I have communicate, heighten, inform, collaborate, and assist as part of my general plans of action. For communicate, I will maximize most, if not all, of the modes of communication, especially LSG's official social media accounts, that we can use in reaching out to students and vice versa. I also want to utilize offline communication channels such as face-to-face conversation or discourse with the UP Law community. Heighten, I want to bring the student body along with the UPLSG to new heights by giving them a voice to timely statements, infographics, meetings, etc. Inform, I want to use online and offline communication channels for announcement and posting of publicity materials. This includes the utilization of the bulletin boards that we have around the campus. Next is to schedule the information dissemination ahead of time. Next is collaborate. This is where my plan to utilize the Public Relations Committee will fall. I will ask and encourage students to volunteers to help us with the planning, conceptualization, execution, and information dissemination. Lastly, assist. I want to be at the forefront of assisting the student body by creating numerous ways for them to reach out and give their personal ideas and opinions about what could be improved. Kaya sa darating na eleksyon, Bes, ano pang hinihintay mo? Ichika mo na!
Thank you, candidate Chica. Now let us have a candidate running for treasurer, Joshua Philip Geronimo.
Hi, UP Law. I am Josh Geronimo, or Josh G, running to be your next LSG treasurer. Simple lang ang aking proposition that I know will help us make sense of the numbers and make every cent count to serve and empower the UP Law community. First, G for good fiscal governance. This is how we address the system of how the LSG handles our funds, especially now that we have resumed the collection of batch and student funds. Next, G for sustainable income generation. As your next LSG treasurer, I will strengthen and streamline income generation through partnerships with our UP Law organizations on projects, events, and merchandising. Lastly, G for a responsible and resilient policy. This is the human side of fiscal management, where I will ensure user-friendly financial reports to promote a culture of visibility, accountability, and transparency. Again, I'm Josh Geronimo, or Josh G, and I'm running to be your next LSG treasurer. Count on someone who can count towards an LSG you can bank on. Your support, together, we can all say G. UP Law, say Geronimo. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Geronimo. Now let us have our candidate for secretary, Frances Dayan Bael.
Good afternoon, UP Law. I am Dayan Bael, your next LSG secretary. So who here has experience going from an online class directly to a face-to-face class without any time to prepare? Who here had difficulties in reserving rooms for their classes? Lastly, who here had a hard time finding a conducive study space in Malcolm, BGC, and Iloilo? I myself have gone through all of these situations, which I know most, if not all of us, have encountered. And it's pressing concerns like this that make us realize there is definitely still a lot to address when it comes to basic student services, all of which affect the quality of learning here in UP Law. Especially now, where we are still in an uncertain transition period post-pandemic, we need efficient and accessible working systems to ensure that no student is left behind. This is why I am running as your next LSG secretary. I envision a responsive and transparent council that provides programs readily available to the student body. As your next LSG secretary, I will keep an organized database of records, empower the UP Law community to voice their concerns, report council proceedings, and implement efficient student services. These are just some of my plans as your next LSG secretary. Towards proactive basic student services, carry on with Dayan. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Bael. Now let us have the candidate for internal vice president, Luis Enrique Vida.
Before I start, I'd like to greet everyone a happy Mother's Day. So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Luis Vida, your incumbent second-year batch representative and your next internal vice president. So, as second-year batch rep, we were very successful in creating a community in our batch where every student concern was addressed, from creating our own student database to our student features and even our different bonding sessions. We finally met our own batch, and most importantly, every batchmate was heard. Now, as your next IVP, I will give you Vida. I'll be your voice in your concerns that I want to raise more timely before the LSG and the admin. We will strive towards inclusivity in the whole college by having different GST seminars for the whole college, and even a mental health awareness week. I will develop our relationships with each other by continuing projects that I had as second-year batch representative, such as our student features, for example. And lastly, I will assist you in all the concerns that you have, especially when it comes to our rights and welfare, and especially registration. For example, creating a registration mind map, and even the posting of FAQs after our students ask questions. So as the next IVP, I will always be here to champion your different interests and concerns. It was something that we were able to do in our past year as second-year batch representative, and it's something that we will carry into the coming year. So vote for me as your next internal vice president, because as a student that will always serve you, kayo ang vida ko.
Thank you, candidate Vida. Now let us hear from the candidate running for external vice president, Brian Gan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Gan, and I'm running to be your next external vice president in the UP Law student government. Today, I run for this position believing that students in leadership positions must work with the fundamental truth that students in student organizations are ultimately volunteers. By empowering these students, showing them the impact of their efforts on whatever advocacies they hold dear to themselves, they will tough out any adversity that law school, the outside world, or even employment for our evening students can bring them. I believe that student organizations flourish in environments where resources are accessible and people's knowledge is transferred from the students of one year to the next. As your next external vice president, I intend to bolster students who put themselves out there and exert extraordinary effort beyond just surviving law school in service of the broader community. My platforms of Uniting for Success, External Relationships That Matter, and Raising the Bar for Courts 2024 are geared towards a UP Law community that appreciates its students. Once again, I'm Brian Gan, running to be your next external vice president, and thank you for coming to this convocation.
Thank you, candidate Gan. Now let us hear from the candidate running for fourth year batch representative, Ramon Joaquin Mendiola. We will be moving on to the next candidate because Mr. or candidate Mendiola has not yet arrived. So now let us hear finally from our candidate for president, Victor Cesar Ubaldo.
Good afternoon, UP Law, and happy Mother's Day as well. I am Vico Baldo, your incumbent LSG Treasurer and your next LSG President. And I also formerly serve as your BGC Evening Representative as well. And out of my time as part of the LSG and also as a fellow law students, I think there are really things that we can improve on. And the question that I've always introduced again and again is, what makes the law school experience fulfilling? Because for me, it should be the UP Law community. So what I envision for UP Law is a community of students that look out for one another and are connected, despite being situated in different law campuses and having different learning circumstances. To do this, I have some plans. First, I want to bring back more activities that allow us to spend more quality time with one another. This includes Malcolm Madness, a tradition since the 70s, which is a night of entertainment that allows students to showcase some particular talents. And I also want to bring in more batch interactions and intersection interactions. Second, I believe there's potential in interacting with our alumni. So I want to bring in a mentoring program which matches students to alumni mentors whose priority is not to teach us classroom lessons, but to guide us in the law profession. And finally, I think we also need to take care of our freshies because how we integrate our freshies reflects how we are as a UP Law community. We need to do all of these things because the study of law is already difficult enough as it is. The very fact that we have a really great UP Law community together already eases our burdens, and what's more, will be very fundamental in making sure that we become the great lawyers that we will become in the future. So once again, I'm Vico Baldo, running to be your next LSG president. For a one UP Law community, let's be connected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, candidate Ubaldo. Now let us now move on to the next part of our convocation, and let us give the candidates a chance to address the questions submitted by the UP Law community. To repeat the mechanics, each candidate to whom the question is addressed is given 1 minute to answer, and they have 30 seconds for follow-ups. So now let us have the first question. This question is directed to all our candidates. And the question is, among all your proposed projects, which do you think are the most and the least feasible ones, and why? So we will start the answering of the questions from the candidate for presidency, Mr. Ubaldo.
Out of all my projects, I think the most feasible one, the least resource heavy, would be the series of reviews that I want to have that are focused for the freshie subjects. But that doesn't mean that my other projects aren't so feasible. The reason why it's very feasible, we just need to connect with volunteer students or even professors or alumni to give these to give these review sessions. The least feasible, probably Malcolm Madness. It would be difficult to do, but actually, honestly, I would really want to push through with Malcolm Madness. No matter what format it may come up, even if we have another surge, I will still push for an online Malcolm Madness because it's a tradition and it's something that we need to bring back. Even our professors know about Malcolm Madness and they probably even performed in Malcolm Madness. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So let us now hear from the candidate for External Vice President.
Hello, everyone. Among my projects, I think that the most feasible is going to be what I want to do for Courts 2024, specifically all of the partnerships and X deals that I aim to get, as well as the organization of the event and making it much longer than it currently is. So moving it from 2 Sundays to 4 Sundays. I say this is the most feasible because I actually am pretty familiar with how sports events work, being in the Ateneo Blue Babel Battalion for 2 years. I watched around 2 to 3 UAP games every weekend, so I'm very familiar with various rule sets in sports and various sports in general. I think that the least feasible, if I had to say, would probably be external relationships that matter, simply because the UP law student government is communicating with other law student councils through the ALSP, which we just joined in the last week or so. So with that, I think that it's feasible because of that connection, but it would be the least feasible if I had to
Thank you. So let us now hear from the candidate for Internal Vice President.
The most feasible out of all the proposals that I've had for the upcoming year would be regarding registration, such as our registration mind map, which will just take simple pub work and a collation of all our different processes around the college. Furthermore, creating FAQs after our different students ask their questions on registration is something that will also be very feasible in the coming year. And lastly, our thrust for being able to coordinate with our graduating students on the different electives and different review classes they need in coordination with our admin would be also very feasible on my part. However, on the least feasible part of my projects, I think it would be exploring the idea of having our initiatives done simultaneously. I understand that there are different considerations that must be made for the different campuses, such as the different availability of venues and the different schedules of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. So now let us hear from the candidate running for secretary.
Hello. For my projects, I think the most feasible are the primers on equipment and services and UP Law, the primers on the academic policies in the college. Since we already have guidelines when it comes to those processes, we can already incorporate that in the primers and coordinate also with the public relations officer in order to better disseminate the information when it comes to that. For the least feasible, I think it will be the conducive study spaces. Not it's totally not feasible, but in terms of it already involves the administration. So when it comes to asserting conducive study spaces in the college, we will have to make talks with the administration. So I guess that's the least feasible in all of my projects.
Thank you. So now let us hear from the candidate for treasurer.
So in my perspective, the most feasible project that I will be looking into would be the strengthening and streamlining of our income generating projects in partnership with our UP Law organizations. Because I think that given that we already have good relationships and systems that are already established, we only need to carry over those kinds of momentum from the previous term. In terms of the least feasible, I would say that the project regarding the expansion of Locker for the Diliman and Iloilo would be least feasible. But I won't say that it won't happen because certainly it would take time to canvass all the costs of the lockers that would be used and would need closer coordination with the central board, the LSG secretary, and together with the batch reps with the admin to know where and how those lockers would be placed in each campus. Thank you.
Thank you. So now let us hear from the candidate running for Public Relations Officer.
Okay, thank you for that question. So among my projects, I think the most feasible one is the creation of utilization of public relations committee because it's a constitutionally mandated committee, and I know that there are a lot of UP law students who are creative and who want to be part of who want to showcase their talents and to contribute to the community. And I will always give credit to those volunteers who will for the effort that they will contribute to the community. And for me, the least feasible one among my project will be the grievance mechanism form. I might find difficulty with the execution of the forms, and that maybe it might be hard for me to encourage students to voice out their concerns because some might feel so discreet, or they want to keep it to themselves. But I want to still explore ways on how can I use this platform. Thank you.
Thank you. So now let us hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Day representative.
So for me, the most feasible out of my platforms would be the streamlining of concerns, and particularly the raising of the concerns to the admin, especially with regard to the transition to face-to-face classes. I know that this may be the hardest, but this is something that is our main concern as of the moment, since we are transitioning now to the hybrid system by next year. We will make sure that our concerns are raised as soon as possible. And we have already done our initial feedback mechanisms, and we are planning to raise this by next week to the admin. For the least feasible, I think that would be the internal events that we plan, such as the acquaintance parties or the bonding events that we plan for the UP Iloilo community, particularly just because of the monetary concerns. But we are also planning to have income generating projects or expedite our call for sponsorship so that we can budget or fund these events. Thank you.
Thank you. So now let us hear from the candidate for Iloilo Evening representative.
Hello. So for my most feasible plan, I think it would be the creation of the dorm or hotel directories for face-to-face sessions, and then of course the scouting of certain job opportunities within the Iloilo area, because I'm already doing that for some of my blockmates actually. And then for the least feasible one, I think it would be the same as said still, because we're working together with those kinds of activities in the Iloilo extension classes, which would be the mixer acquaintance parties that we usually hold during face-to-face classes or weeks, which typically call for a lot of monetary requirements. So yeah, those would be the least feasible plans that we have.
Thank you. So now let us hear from one of the candidates for BGC Day representative. We can start with candidate De Luna.
Hello. So everyone, for my most feasible project, I would believe it would be the community outreaches. So this has never been done before, but I believe all the more that this is something that engages the student body and allows us to be more than just law students. This isn't the first time that I would be organizing something like this. Since I've participated in a number in the past. Our past reps have made it a point to go beyond the classroom, and I want to continue doing the same. For the least feasible, it would be the bringing of blessings to BGC. While it's something that isn't within my control, I would be heavily involved in the discussions with the dean to bring it back. However, to combat this, just in the case that it doesn't push through, we have projects for a printer on campus with a steady ink supply. So while maintenance might be an issue, this just puts more pressure on me to create more IGPs, but I'm confident that we can make it happen together. Thank you.
Thank you. So now let us hear from the other candidate running for BGC Day representative, candidate Milian.
Okay, while all of the projects that I propose are highly feasible, if I had to pick one, the most feasible would be the community outreaches, which are under the umbrella of community initiatives. I want to spearhead various charity and fundraising activities, and this should be an opportunity for us to give back to the community and instill a sense of social responsibility, so that we can make a difference together. It's incredibly feasible because there are already charities that I have worked with in the past that we can partner with. And while hasn't been done before by past representatives, I've participated in many of these similar initiatives in the past in my personal capacity, and there really are no shortage of opportunities for community outreaches. And the least feasible would be the introduction of blessings in BGC, because it's just not within the control of the admin right now, especially taking into account financial viability. But to combat it, of course, like we already have a printer in campus that we can supply regularly. Thank you.
Thank you. So let us now hear from the candidate running for BGC Evening representative. Sorry, there are two. So let's start with the candidate Aronales.
So all of my proposed projects actually are very feasible, since this is based on practicality. However, if I had to choose the most feasible, it would be the bringing back full use of campus facilities, simply because the incumbent BGC evening representatives have already been able to do this. So we now have the law commons and the library extended up until midnight during exams, and 8 o'clock for the library. So since this is something that they've already done, I am confident that if I talk to the admin, this can be extended not just during exam season. Now, for the least feasible, I think it would be the complete utilities, simply because I'd have to talk this through with the admin, especially the providing the water dispenser and the microwave, as these aren't cheap. So this would involve some things out of my control. Thank you.
Let us now hear from the other candidate, candidate Sikat.
Hello, good afternoon. So for my project, I feel like the most feasible one would be the practicality side, because in making the campus more comfortable and conducive, I think I've had experiences before for fundraising and all of that, and I feel like I could contribute in that way in making sure that we have those water dispensers, microwaves, and I also want to bring an in-campus printer, a paid printer, just to make it more convenient for us, especially since it's not easy to find one around BGC. And in terms of the more difficult one, probably connectivity, since we all have different time, we're all working, and it might be difficult to bring people together, but that doesn't mean I won't try. I've always loved the challenge, and these hobby mentorship groups, I want to implement that really for the BGC evening community. So that's it. Thank you. And there.
Thank you. So let us now hear from the candidates for fourth year batch representative. There are two candidates. Let us first hear from candidate Agabin.
Hello. So the easiest plan I actually have is the bonding activities. I believe that bonding isn't limited to big events and big socials. I believe that bonding can be done through different small and easy activities. So these are very simple activities that can be done inside the campus and any day of the week. Hardest, I believe, would be the career talks and talks with the different firms. I think it's hard. It's hard in a way that I won't be able to answer all the questions that my batchmates will have. But hopefully, through the opportunities I give them, I'll give them more confidence in choosing the right path. Thank you.
Thank you. So let us now hear from the other candidate for fourth year batch representative, candidate Mendiola. He is in the Zoom already.
So good afternoon. I apologize, I had an exam. But to answer the question, I would say that the easiest activity or the easiest project would be the batch bonding activities as well, because I do see a demand for it. We've spent how many years as a batch cooped up in our own homes without any activities or bonding activities, without any opportunities to see each other. And I believe that that created a demand for it. For the least feasible, I would say that it would be the bar buddy system that we plan to initiate in the college, wherein we'd have undergraduates help the graduating students. And I think that this is not as feasible because it's very difficult to get people to volunteer, especially considering that it's not for their own benefit per se. But I believe that with a pay it forward system and outlook that we can enable, we will be able to help and be able to get people to volunteer to help our bar candidates.
Thank you. So let us now hear from the candidate running for third-year batch representative. There are also two candidates, so let us first hear from candidate Chua.
So for the most feasible for me is having information dissemination done mainly through text and email blasts. There aren't a lot of cost or other external factors to consider here, so it's very easy to execute. And then for the least feasible, personally, it's the community visits that I would want, wherein we can conduct seminars regarding their constitutional rights in vulnerable communities. The biggest hurdle in this project is getting people to attend, because the workload as a law student is very, very heavy. But I know that there is a social responsibility in each and every one of us, and I know that that my constituents will not disappoint, and we will make it as flexible as possible for every student to be able to participate.
Thank you. So let us hear from the other candidate, candidate Talusan.
Thank you. For the most feasible project that I have proposed would be the guidebook for registration period and the batch calendar. These projects are simple to create since the processes, they already exist. So we just need to properly collate and integrate all these information into one infographic. And given my background in internals and marketing and communications work in undergrad, it would be easy to implement these projects. And since there's no need to shell out any money or generate any funds for these projects, then it would also be easy to execute. As for my least feasible project, it would be the face-to-face batch Amazing Race Day, since as of now, we are still unsure about how COVID will be beginning the next school year. So these COVID is, of course, beyond our control and beyond our projections. So the batch Amazing Race Day would, of course, have to depend, its implementation would have to depend on the current COVID cases. Thank you.
So thank you, candidates, for answering our first question. Next, our next question is directed to the candidate for external vice president, candidate Gan. So this is the question. Let's just wait for the question to be flashed because the question is quite long. Okay, I will just read the question. There, it's here. So the question is that in Article 2, Section 8 of the 2022 UP Law Students Constitution, it provides that one of the duties of the EVP is to maintain constantly open channels of communication with other student councils, especially with that of other colleges in the university, that of other colleges of law in the Philippines, and in case of the absence of or removal of the college representative as a member of the central board in accordance with this constitution, the University Student Council. The question is, due to the absence of candidates running for the position of college representative, how do you plan to juggle the job of EVP and college representative while being an evening student?
Hello. So regarding this question, I actually first consulted the current EVP, Pat Cariaga, regarding this, and I asked him to further highlight what the role of this is. Customarily, the role of USC rep or law school rep, or in general, the rep of the UP College of Law to the other student councils is taxing, primarily because of the various committees that one must juggle on top of currently being EVP. And he said that if EVP did not have this provision, it would be much easier. He also pointed out that it would be possible to have another person, specifically for Malcolm, do this. And I also went to the EVP before him, GJ Guillermo, and I asked, because he was also a working student, and his best advice that I think that I'm going to be using coming into this is to live one day at a time. And as a working student, that's something that I'm very familiar with. And time management is something that I'm good at, as my work colleagues would say about me. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Gan. For our next question, this is directed to the candidate for treasurer. So the question is, what contributions have you made with the student tribunal as a magistrate?
Okay. So during my time as the evening magistrate at the Law Student Tribunal, the tribunal was actually in a phase of reorganization, as I would say, because following the ratification of the UP Law Students Constitution, the number of seats in the magistrates actually increased. Now, with that being said, I have made the effort to contribute in terms of addressing that manpower requirement. So I've been very proactive, encouraging, and helping applicants regarding their decision if they pursued a seat on the vacancies regarding the tribunal. So with that, before, during, and after my time at the tribunal, I still made contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Geronimo. For our next question, this question is directed to all candidates who have a fraternity affiliation. So for our candidates that are affiliated, kindly raise your hand in the Zoom app so that we know who you guys are. Let's give it a few seconds. Okay. So the question is, fraternity accountability is much needed in this day and age. Are your fraternities duly registered with the OVC-SA? If not, how can you hold yourself accountable to the UP administration and your constituents? Let us start hearing the answers from the candidate for presidency, Candidate Ubaldo.
Yes, my frat is duly registered with the OVCSA.
Okay, so let us now hear from the next candidate, Candidate Vida.
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, my fraternity is also duly registered with the OVCSA.
I would just like to remind the candidates that there is a follow-up question, which is how can you hold yourself accountable to the UP administration and your constituents? Yes. So I would call again Mr. Candidate Ubaldo if he wants to answer the follow-up question also.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying the question. So in order to hold myself accountable accountable to my constituents, because of course I'm a UP law student first and foremost, and I will put the interest of the law student body first and foremost. In this matter, I have to set aside, of course, any of my bias or any of my anything that would put anything that would put in the line and on any anything that would affect the student body. So rest assured that I'm always thinking about the welfare of the UP Law student first and foremost.
Okay, thank you so much, Candidate Ubaldo. Again, let us hear from the candidate for internal vice president, Candidate Vida.
Thank you very much for the clarification. Yes, my fraternity is duly registered with the OVCSA. And even with this, we will always hold ourselves accountable and will always make ourselves available to any investigations or any questions that anybody in the university may have. And I'd also like to say that my duty will always be to the students. So if any need arises or if there are any investigations that have to be made, I will always duly comply. Thank you.
Thank you. So let us now hear from Candidate Geronimo.
Okay, so for the first question, no, my fraternity is not registered with the OVCSA. And for the next question, if not, regarding the accountability question, number one, as an LSG officer, if I get elected, I'll fully comply with all the investigation that will be implemented to ensure that those instances where there is a need to establish accountability, I'm going to support that. I know that the LSG actually has its own house rules and systems on how to discipline its LSG officers, and that's why I will fully support to a speedy and impartial investigation and fully commit to that. Because again, number one, I am a law student just like you, and I understand that the level of trust that's being reposed upon me as an LSG officer.
Thank you, Candidate Geronimo. Next, let us hear from Candidate Lencio.
Yes, my fraternity is also registered with the OVCSA. And with regards to holding, with regards to accountability, actually, I would like to say that as future Iloilo Evening representative, even currently as Iloilo Evening representative, my commitment lies with my constituents. Also, my constituents involve most people as well within my fraternity. So I would like to say that with regards to accountability, if what I hold above would be the interest of my constituents over my fraternity. Yes.
Thank you, Candidate Lencio. Let us now hear from Candidate De Luna.
Hello, everyone. To clarify, my fraternity is not registered with the OVSCA, but we're recognized by the UP College of Law. Again, first and foremost, my allegiance lies with the people I'm representing, the people of the BGC Day community. And if need be, I would, of course, hold myself accountable to any possible investigation that may be needed. And I will fully submit myself to the proper processes under the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. So let us now hear from Candidate Milian.
Okay, similar to my fraternity is not registered with the OVSCA, but we're recognized by the UP College of Law. Similar to the other candidates, I will keep myself accountable to any investigations that may conflict with my affiliation. As the BGC Day representative, my duty will always be first the community before my fraternity, and I would work with the concerned offices and individuals and follow the proper procedures in order to ensure that what's best for the community is put above all. Thank you.
Thank you. We would like to call the candidates who are affiliated again to mention what fraternity you are affiliated with. So let us call on Candidate Ubaldo.
I'm affiliated with the Upsilon Sigma Phi, so that is for the university fraternity. I also have another fraternity which I did not include in the question anymore because it is based in the UP College of Medicine, the Phi Kappa Mu.
Okay, thank you. Let us hear from Candidate Vida.
Thank you. I'm affiliated with the Upsilon Sigma Phi. Thank you.
Thank you. So let us hear from candidate Geronimo.
Yes, I'm affiliated with the Alpha Phi Beta fraternity.
Okay, thank you. So let us hear from candidate Lencio.
Sorry, I'd like to clarify my response. I'm affiliated with Sigma Rho fraternity. We're not apparently we're not registered with OVCSA, but we're recognized with the UP College of Law.
Thank you. So let us hear from candidate De Luna.
Hello, everyone. I'm affiliated with the UP Sigma Rho fraternity. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, let us hear from candidate Milian.
Hello, I am affiliated with the UP Sigma Rho fraternity. Thank you.
Thank you. So let us now move on to our next question. This is directed to all of our candidates and is a question just to lighten up the mood. So the question is, what is your go-to videoke song? So let us hear from the candidate for president, candidate Ubaldo.
Meron ba ako? You raise me up na lang. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. So let us hear from the candidate for external vice president, Miss Candidate Jan.
Hello. My favorite karaoke song. It's only because I got sanay or used to singing an older karaoke, so I couldn't find newer songs. But it would have to be either "Livin' on a Prayer" or "Careless Whisper." Thank you.
Thank you. Let us hear from the candidate for internal vice president, candidate Vida.
Thank you very much for the question. My go-to videoke song is I Won't Give Up by Jason Mraz. Mahilig ako bumirit. And I also liken it to my duty to our constituents. Even if times get rough, I will never give up. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate for secretary, candidate Pael.
Thank you for the question. My go-to video song is Dancing Queen. I just love a main character moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate for treasurer, candidate Geronimo.
My go-to videoke song would have to be any song from the band All Time Low. But my favorite song from them would have to be 6 Feet Under the Stars. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate for public relations officer, candidate Chika.
Okay, so most of the people who know me, I really know that I always want karaoke. So it's hard for me to choose, but mostly the songs of Imago, UDD, and the chorus. So mainly AKAP by Imago.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the Iloilo Day the candidate for Iloilo Day representative.
I have two go-to karaoke songs and they're very polarizing. The first one is Dear Maria Count Me In by All Time Low. And the second one is Oops, I Did It Again by Britney Spears.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate for Iloilo Evening representative.
I have to say that my go-to karaoke song would probably be Yellow by Coldplay.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate De Luna, running for BGC Day representative.
My favorite go-to videoke song is Whatever My Crush Wants. So, yun lang. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let us hear from candidate Milian, running for BGC Day representative.
My all-time favorite videoke song is Night Changes by One Direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us hear from a candidate running for BGC Evening representative, candidate Aronales.
Thank you for the question. My go-to video song is Love the Way You Lie by Eminem and Rihanna. Simply because I want to flex, I can rap and sing. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us hear from another candidate for BGC Evening Representative, candidate Sikat.
My go-to song would be Taylor Swift's All Too Well 10-minute version, but since it's not on most karaoke, I'd go for On My Own, Leia Salonga's version, and the Les Mis 10th anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you. So let us now hear from one of the candidates for fourth year batch representative. Sorry, candidate Agabin. If I
Hello, I can't
he's here.
open my video. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
There's the okay lang. Oh, hello. My favorite karaoke song is "Build Me Up, Buttercup." Thank you.
Thank you. Let us hear from the other candidate for fourth year batch representative, candidate Mendiola.
My favorite karaoke song is Pangarap Lang Kita because it reminds me of unrequited love and my childhood.
Okay, thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate for third year batch representative. Is candidate Mark Chua here?
Hi. Umuwi ka na, baby. Di na ako sanay nang wala ka. Hanggang Kailan by Orange and Lemons. Thank you.
Thank you. And for our, there was two candidates for third year batch representative, and the last would be candidate Talusan.
So, my go-to video song would be the best song sa Balat ng Lupa, which is Stupid Love by Salbakuta.
Thank you. So thank you, candidates, for sharing to us what your favorite go-to videoke song is or are. And now let us go to the next question, which is directed again to the candidate for external vice president, candidate Gan. And the question is, what innovations or improvements did you introduce to the LSG during your term as PRO?
I would have to say that the answer is I tried to make the amount of time it took to create PubMats. Okay, I will concede that we did kind of miss one, but I tried to make the time as short as possible given that I am a working student. I also tried to create a brand audit, which is currently ongoing, and we're trying to figure out which branding elements or which kind of PubMats tend to have the biggest reach and the best impact overall. Thank you.
Thank you. So for our next question, this is directed to the candidate for treasurer, candidate Geronimo. And the question is, did you resign as a magistrate to run for in the LSG? If you win, how can we ensure that you will not resign from your position if presented with other opportunities outside the LSG?
Okay, so for the first question, yes, I did resign as a magistrate to run for the LSG because that will be in compliance with the existing rules under our constitution, especially for officers in the central board. Now, for the next question is regarding that resignation. I just want to make a manifestation that will reassure the whole UP Law community that I will do my best to do all the best effort in my ability to ensure that I would finish my term, because that is the trust that's being reposed upon me as your next LSG treasurer, the mandate to serve from end to end, and I'll do my best from day one up until the last day of my term. Secondly, I just want to address that the reason I joined the tribunal was to help the UP Law community or to serve its students. When the opportunity to run for LSG treasurer presented itself with a greater role, I took that chance on it.
Okay, thank you, candidate Geronimo. For the next question, this is directed to the candidate for presidency, candidate Ubaldo. And the question is, in 2021, Malcolm Madness was rebranded into the Grand Madness for the inclusivity and a show of oneness between both the Diliman and the BGC campuses. Are you aware of the rebrand of this LSG event, or are you saying in your SPOA that you plan to revert the event's name back to Malcolm Madness?
Yes, I'm aware of this. And the reason why it was Grand Madness, so that it wouldn't revolve around Malcolm Madness, which is more Diliman affiliated. But at the same time, I chose to I chose Malcolm Madness to the term Malcolm Madness because it would be more familiar with more people. At the same time, I don't believe there's a complete reason. There's also a reason for us to go back to the term Malcolm Madness because if we're referring to Malcolm, it does not necessarily refer to Malcolm Hall itself. It could also mean the person Malcolm. So this is something that we can still discuss further if we will continue with the term Grand Madness aside from Malcolm Madness. Definitely, I'm very open to this. I just chose to propose Malcolm Madness as a general term that has been more familiar with many of us. Thank you.
Thank you. For the next question, this is directed to all of our candidates here today. The question is, it will also be flashed on the screen. There is a growing concern with our university community regarding instances of FRV, and the recent controversial frat chat leaks in the past years. As a result, some individuals have been called for the complete abolition of fraternities in our university. In light of these developments, I would like to ask the candidates how they plan to address this issue in their respective positions. Specifically, the person who posted this question is interested in hearing their opinion on the matter and what steps they intend to take to ensure the safety and well-being of students affected by FRV and similar issues. So let us start. Let us hear the answer from the candidate for presidency.
Yes. It's a bit long, but I'll try to summarize it as much as possible. So, definitely, because I am against any and all forms of frat-related violence, we really need to make steps towards reducing these instances. First, complete compliance with the anti-hazing law. Second, also the registration of fraternities under the OVCSA. Next, we need to also be more proactive in addressing these instances of frat-related violence. So we must be able to reach out to all those concerned. We should also be working. Actually, we should be working with the different fraternities to also decrease this because these are also the concerns, or this is also a priority among the different fraternities in the university.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate for External Vice President, candidate Gan.
Hello. The UP-LSG, in its open minutes or live tweeting of its sessions regarding frat-related violence, often discusses their ability to make a statement of condemnation, and sometimes they try to exclude or blacklist frat members from the LSG. From what I remember, there was an instance where I believe somebody in the LSG, according to these live tweeted encounters, said that you can either be part of a frat or be part of the LSG. As external vice president, I don't think that this is the right approach because as external vice president, you're also in charge of maintaining those stakeholders and we can't just outright shun them. I think that it would be better to work hand in hand with them with reforms against all of these frat-related violence or other similar issues that may be divisive and hurt the community. Ultimately, it's a question of brotherhood, and sometimes it's expressed poorly, but I think we can work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate for Internal Vice President.
Thank you very much for the question. I'd like to start off by saying that I am against all different forms of frat-related violence. And moving forward, definitely, I think this is something that must be addressed by the different members of the central board, especially as a candidate for the internal vice president position. It is my job to take care of the different student rights and welfare of our students. I think this can be done, number one, by fostering a better sense of community in our college. Of course, it's better when everyone is able to know each other and able to create friendly relations with each other. And even for me, as your future IVP, this is something that I stay true to. And it's something that I stayed true to in my past year, second year batch representative. We must be able to remain consistent in our service to the students, regardless of whatever affiliation they may have, in order for us to be able to create a safe space for our students in the UP Law. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for secretary.
Thank you for the question. I am part of women's organizations whose goals and principles are aligned with women empowerment. So we do not condone frat-related violence. Should that happen, I will stand with the LSG in conducting an objective investigation of the incident because the welfare of the students must always come first. And for the victims, I can help them by getting counseling and filing a case should they need assistance on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for treasurer.
First of all, I would like to express my condemnation of any kind of FRB or discrimination which have no place in our campus. I am also here to state that I am here to promote a culture of accountability and safe space in the university. With that, if I get elected as your next LSG treasurer, I will definitely work with the central board on projects that would promote safe spaces and camaraderie within the entire UP Law community so that no student is left behind regardless of affiliation or organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for public relations officer.
Thank you for the question. Yes, I am also one of those who are against the frat-related violence. And as your next PRO, I will lobby to the UP-LSG to strengthen our participation in the movement in UP Diliman as a whole, in partnership with the LSG. I will also lobby to the CB members to have a stand and make a campaign on anti-FRV, and then and also to release statement should there be any issues involving this frat-related violence again come up in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Day as Iloilo Day representative.
Thank you. Just like everyone else, I'm also against any form of violence in fraternities, sororities, and organizations. And I think that to address this, first of all, this must be addressed from its core, from the inside of the organizations, and we must ensure that as an LSG, we help in holding the organizations accountable, making sure that if there are proceedings or investigations that are being held, that they participate in every step. And also, as a representative, with regard to my constituents, I would like to make sure that camaraderie, that we build some form of camaraderie or bond to ensure that this is a safe space and ensure that any concerns are heard and any information are disseminated to the proper authorities as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Evening representative.
Personally, I condemn all forms of violence, not just frat-related violence. I'm a big advocate of trying to talk things out, trying to put progressive practices in place naturally. So in the case that we do actually see these kinds of things happening, I think the best move would be to push for organizations to participate fully in all recognized and appropriate processes that the college may have for holding organizations accountable.
Thank you. Let us now hear from one of our candidates for BGC Day representative, candidate De Luna.
Hello, everyone. So to be clear, I am against and condemn all forms of fraternity-related violence. We need to push for organizations to participate. In order to combat this, we need to push for organizations to participate fully in all recognized and appropriate processes of the college and before the law to hold organizations and individuals accountable. If there are future instances, we would push for accountability and cooperation with the stakeholders involved. So, as the UPBGC Day representative, I want to ensure everyone that UPBGC is a safe space for all, and I will ensure that no such instances of FRV will ever come across our campus. No form of violence should ever be condoned, and I stand firmly against all forms of violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the other candidate for BGC Day representative, candidate Milian.
Hello. Okay, so firstly, I'm against any and all forms of frat-related violence. I do believe that we can combat these instances by ensuring that the instigating individuals and fraternities are held accountable to the community. We do need to push for organizations and individuals to participate in all of the fair processes that exist in order to keep these organizations accountable. In the event that these things still do happen, we can respond to this by pushing for investigations and cooperation from those involved. By doing this, we can abolish frat-related violence in our campus. We need to be able to create a safe space and environment for learning within the BGC campus, and accountability is an important part of this. I will personally ensure that accountability and that safe environment is fostered in the BGC campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from one of the candidates for BGC Evening Representative, candidate Aranales.
I am strongly against any form of violence related to fraternities. Any and all forms of harm have no place in our community and are completely unacceptable. While I believe that fraternities can provide valuable opportunities for students to connect, network, and engage in many community service projects, when these instances happen, they must be held accountable for their actions and behaviors, and any instances of violence or misconduct must be addressed. As a member of the student government, I will work to promote safe and a welcoming environment for all of our students and to ensure that our campus policies and procedures reflect our commitment to preventing and addressing fraternity-related violence. We must work together as a community to prioritize the well-being of our students and to uphold the value of respect, inclusivity, and responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the other candidate for BGC Evening Representative, candidate Sikat.
I have never been in a sorority, but I have friends who are in fraternities and sororities, and I've asked repeatedly why they entered in the first place. And my key takeaway is that these organizations have principles and ideals that are really centered towards a lofty goal, if not for their group, for the community. So I don't think they should be abolished, but I am very much against frat-related violence. And I do think that there should be more commitment towards actively addressing this issue through progressively improving the sense of community or brotherhood that we have, which I don't think frat-related violence really contributes towards. So I'm hoping for greater accountability from the fraternities in our community as a whole, and pushing for policies, and pushing for commitments towards abolishing frat-related violence, not just, I think, within the law community, but as a whole. And also, lastly, I don't have time anymore, but thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for, one of the candidates running for fourth year batch representative, candidate Agabin.
Hello. So I believe UP should be a safe space, and that means violence should not be tolerated inside the campus. So I would push for accountability of the fraternities as well as demanding liability for those who are responsible. I will plan to deal with these problems in a proactive way to ensure that people will feel safe inside and outside the campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the other candidate for fourth year batch representative, candidate Mendiola.
So hello everyone. In order to avoid being redundant and regurgitating the previous answers, I'd just like to share my opinion as someone who doesn't have a frat. I think that tradition and overly blind adherence to tradition is overrated. And I think that you can see that in frat-related violence. And to answer the second question on how I can ensure the safety and well-being of students, I don't think there's an answer to that. I don't think I can ensure the safety, but what I can ensure you is that I can ensure you that you will be respected in this batch. I can ensure you that you will be taken care of as a person. But to ensure you that these problems will not be coming up is almost impossible because they've been happening since I was a freshman 8 years ago. So with that, I just like to say thank you to whoever asked this question because I think it's a really good question. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from one of the candidates for third year batch representative, candidate Chua.
So there's no place for any kind of violence in our community. And as your next batch representative, I intend to build a closer relationship with my constituents, as my platform would show. And this is so that they will feel safe enough and comfortable enough to come forward and trust me with the information that they have been victimized of FRVs or any kind of violence. And I can assure my constituents that they have my word that any kind of violence will be dealt with accordingly under our university policies. And those who are involved will be investigated and held accountable if they're guilty. I think also it's counterproductive to say that they should be abolished because they will only go underground and it will be harder for us to regulate or supervise them regarding these matters. So let's encourage them to comply with the existing policies and processes so that we can further regulate them.
Thank you. And lastly, let us hear from the other candidate for third year batch representative, candidate Tadusan.
So yes, I'm similar to the other candidates. I'm also against any frat-related violence and do not condone such acts. However, I don't think that the correct step to take is to abolish these fraternities or organizations because this would simply lead to restricting the students' rights to self-organization. The proper step would be to push for investigations with the LSG to ensure that these organizations are duly registered and have followed proper procedures. But we cannot wait for the acts of violence to actually happen before we act on it and hold the people accountable. So this could be done through the littlest and smallest ways possible. Under my plans, I propose to have a grievance forms and awareness campaigns so that even within the batch, we can all be aware of these violence that could happen to anyone at any time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to our candidates. For our next question, this is directed to all incumbent LSG officers who are currently running. So please, to these candidates, kindly raise your hand in the Zoom app if you are a candidate who is currently an LSG officer. Okay, so the question is, there has been a silent spread of COVID-19 cases that have affected both Diliman and BGC campuses. As incumbent LSG officers, what steps have you taken to address this? Aside from merely asking for information on cases and providing test kits, were there any proposals to have classes online for the safety of professors and students? If none, why? The question is also flashed on the screen. So let us first hear from candidate Ubaldo.
Thank you for the question. So, yes, besides we did ask for information on cases and test kits. The reason why it's important to get information on cases is because it builds us as a strong argument that we can bring up to the UP administration or the administration of law, and without being able to show through strong facts that there is an increasing trend and that we have, and in response to also the circumstances around us, then it is only then that we could be able to make a strong argument for to hold online classes instead of continuing with the face-to-face classes. So this is something that we tried to address as a as a CB, we did try our best. It was definitely in the discussions, and as of now, we still need to continue tracking these cases and try to solve this.
Thank you, Candidate Ubaldo. Let us now hear from Candidate Gan.
Hello, everyone. So currently, the LSG as a whole is indeed making use of testing kits, as well as collecting information regarding active cases, such as where they were contracted, who the active case may have interacted with, what day they were in campus, if any. And I think that these are important steps towards managing the spread of COVID. In addition, this use of information is currently being used to make a case towards moving as many possible classes online. However, to my knowledge, there are still professors who are against it, still preferring face-to-face. In my personal experience, there is a prof that I know of at the moment who is of that stance. In addition, if you noticed in the recent events, there were testing kits required, for instance, for courts or inter-eve, and participation would require a negative test in order to enter the venues. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from Candidate Vida.
Thank you very much for the question. As an incumbent second year batch representative, the different steps that we were able to take as the central board would primarily be data gathering and coordinating with the admin on the different cases. So the admin this year, and I think also in years past, has always echoed the sentiment that our calls for moving classes back to online must be supported by different data on the different blocks that are suffering from COVID. And to my knowledge, there was no real memo that was released by our admin or even our dean regarding moving classes to online. And moving forward, I think this is definitely something that I would want the LSG to take its own separate stance in. If there's no action that we can get from the admin or from the dean or even from the university, I would want the LSG to be more proactive in helping the students in their call for moving classes online. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from Candidate Carmen.
Hello. So in Iloilo, we were also affected. There were some blockmates who were um affected by the virus since we visited also the Diliman campus during our fellowship event. But what we did was we continuously monitored the status of all, not just the people who got positive, but all of our constituents, and made sure that they were getting the help that they needed, or they made sure that they were that any contact tracing would be done properly. And also, as to the second part of the question, we were all, our classes are still online, so we were not really affected by the super spreading of the virus in Iloilo. Thank you.
And lastly, let us hear from Candidate Lencho.
Yes, luckily with my constituents in the evening blocks, no one got affected. And then, so regardless though, we were still checking on each other from time to time, considering that there might be instances wherein their symptoms might manifest later than the other people who got positive. So we were still checking on each other. And considering how small our communities are, usually it's very easy to communicate with each other. 2 evening blocks. So yeah, constant communication, checking in on each other. And then after that, of course, our classes right now we're still online, so we can't really be affected with a minor spread like this.
Thank you to our candidates. For the next question, let us have a little breather. So the next question is directed to all the candidates, and the question is, ano ang paboritong luto mo sa itlog? Yan, mga chummy questions na ulit. So let us start with Candidate Rubaldo.
Sunny side up. Kailangan bang i-substantiate? Okay na. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's hear from candidate Gan.
Hi. Okay. So I actually ended up seeing this video that I've been meaning to try. So what they did was they got like an egg and then they cooked it over instant noodles with the use of like chili oil, and the egg was like fried pretty on a pretty high heat, and so the edges browned and crisped up, and then they put on top of the instant noodles, and then the yolk was still running, and then they added chili oil, chives, and chopped garlic. So I think that's how I'd like to cook the next egg that I intend to cook. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Vida.
Hi. I like my eggs cooked scrambled because you don't have to think about it so much. If it's boiled kasi, you have to think 5 minutes, 6 minutes, but I don't like thinking that much when I cook my food. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Bael.
For me, yung paborito kong luto sa itlog is scrambled egg. Kasi pwede mo siya i-pair sa kanin, pwede rin siyang palaman sa tinapay, at hindi rin siya messy kainin. So, scrambled egg for me.
Thank you. Let us hear from candidate Geronimo.
For me, sunny side up egg. Tapos yung pagkakaluto niya, yung crunchy, tapos brown na yung um, ilalim niya na part. Tapos runny pa rin naman yung yolk. So yun yung gusto ko sa luto ng egg.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Chica.
Yes, so actually it's either scrambled or torta, but mas gusto ko kasi yung scrambled egg na may onions and tomatoes kasi naging comfort food ko siya since I was a child, and until now na I'm living independently, it's still my comfort food, and it brings back so much memory when I was a child. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Carmen.
Sa akin, it would also be scrambled, but yung medyo milky, tas medyo mabasa-basa pa. And bonus na if with extra kamatis.
Thank you. Let us hear from candidate Lencio.
Yes, for me, my preference with how eggs are cooked is that I like it sunny side up, then malasado, especially when the yolk is really wet, because I like how I can clothe my rice with the yolk flavor.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate De Luna.
So my favorite way of cooking egg, it's called mayak geran or something like that. It's actually Korean marinated egg. So you get vinegar, garlic, chili peppers, chili oil, and all that. So you soft boil the egg and then you marinate it overnight, and then you put it over a bed of hot rice. So yeah, it's really good. I can send you guys the recipe if you want.
Thank you. So let us now hear from candidate Milian.
As someone who eats 3 hard-boiled eggs a day, I'm gonna say hard-boiled eggs. It's easy to make, and it's for me the most filling way to cook it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Aranales.
So my favorite way to cook eggs is scrambled also. Simply because I can put cheese, numerous amounts of cheese on it, and then it will still taste really good. So there.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Sikat.
Hi, my favorite way of cooking eggs are omelets because there's so many things you can do with it. Pwedeng lagyan ng ham and cheese, pwedeng with bacon, tapos pag pecha de peligro, pwedeng eggs na lang talaga. So it fits your mood, it fits your needs in so many ways. That's why I love omelets. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Agabin.
Para sa akin, walang tatalo sa itlog mo pala. Tama.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Mendiola.
I like my eggs raw because I want to be a boxer and like Rocky. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Chua.
For me, omelets with cheese.
Thank you. And lastly, let us now hear from candidate Talusan.
Paborito kong luto is sunny side up na malasado para juicy. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for sharing to us your favorite way to cook an egg. Yung iba nagbigay pa ng recipes. So we are hoping na i-share niyo yan. And so for the next question, this is a question that was submitted according to our Google Forms. It was submitted a lot of times. And this question is directed to candidate Gan. So the question is, of all the candidates for this election, you are the only one who did not do any RTR or any RTR campaign. How can we be assured that you will perform your duties as EVP and law representative to the USC when you did not even exert any effort to reach out to the electorate this election? How will you foster partnerships with other law students?
Hello. So to answer this question, I actually did do an RTR. I know that I wasn't able to target as many blocks as I want to, primarily because of the squeeze time that I had as a working student. But I won't use that as an excuse. Coming in as EVP and law rep to the USC should I win. I focused primarily towards the second week of the campaign because I had to juggle academics on top of it as well. The blocks that I did RTR, I ended up reaching out to them, and I did show up to their blocks during the RTR, and I presented my platforms. I also focused on the use of PubMats in order to try and compensate for the lack of RTRs for the blocks that I was not able to schedule or reach out to. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Gan. For our next question, this is directed to all affiliated candidates. So these are fraternity and sorority affiliated candidates. So again, kindly raise your hand in the Zoom app if you are affiliated. And again, before answering the question, kindly mention to us your affiliation. So the question is, how do you reconcile your stance against fraternity or sorority related violence with your affiliation? Let us hear first from the candidate for running for president, candidate Ubaldo.
Thank you for the question. So definitely, I'm against all forms of fraternity-related violence. I've been part of a fraternity for years, and from what I've observed, there really is a lot of ways for us to be able to have a very peaceful environment. Actually, the way I've experienced it, especially coming from the UP College of Medicine, it's there are a lot of things because fraternities contribute to have a lot of service activities. There is really there's really no place or there's no actual trend for any fraternity related violence to come up again. And in this way, my fraternity also, which I forgot to mention, the Upsilon Sigma Phi has also complied with the requirements of the OVCSA. We are recognized organization, even undergoing the required gender sensitivity training, and we continue to have these to grow in these stances against fraternity-related violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Vida.
Thank you very much for the question. I am a member of the Upsilon Sigma Phi, and my stance against frat-related violence with my affiliation, I don't think those are two inconsistent views. I can be part of a fraternity while also denouncing the frat-related violence that has also obviously happened in the past. One way that my fraternity has done to sort of erase or minimize or even take out the culture of violence is by seeking registration with the OVCSA and attending the different gender sensitivity training programs that our fraternity has openly complied with. Furthermore, we also work hand in hand with the different fraternities in serving the university and also the UP College of Law. And lastly, I think the biggest thing that we can do as the future LSG members is to lead by example, to serve everyone, regardless of the affiliation that they may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Bael.
Thank you for the question. I'm from the UP Delta Lambda Sigma sorority. So to answer the question, we condemn all forms of violence in the institution. Personally, I did not experience any form of violence when I entered the sorority. And again, as what I've said earlier, our sorority have goals and principles that are aligned with women empowerment. So we strongly condemn all forms of violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Geronimo.
If I get elected as an LSG officer, I would put the interest of the UP Law community as the most paramount concern. My affiliation will not get in the way of promoting safe spaces and accountability in the university. Again, under the mandate of the LSG, that is very clear. What we will do collectively is to stand behind the entire UP Law community to the end that no students will be left behind, regardless of their affiliation or organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Lencho.
Yes, as I said before, I condemn all forms of violence, not just frat-related violence. And honestly, I think the question should have been framed to all forms of violence. It's not just fraternity, sorority. I think it could be present in a lot of organizations, honestly. How do I reconcile it? Going to the question. I don't like violence. My fraternity doesn't like violence as well. So naturally, we'll lead by example.
Thank you. Let us hear from candidate De Luna.
Hello, everyone. So I am a member of the UP Sigma Rho fraternity. There is no inconsistency as I, like my fraternity, conform all and any forms of fraternity-related violence. If there are any future instances, my fraternity, along with we would like to push for accountability and cooperation with the stakeholders involved, and that we vehemently condemn these forms of violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from candidate Milian.
Hello, as a member again of the Sigma Rho fraternity, our fraternity condemns all forms of frat-related violence. There's no inconsistency with my stance and the stance of my fraternity on this issue. So any instigating individuals or organizations that are involved in frat-related violence need to be held accountable. And just to reiterate my previous answer, in the event that these things do happen, we can respond to this by pushing for investigations and cooperation with the affected organizations and individuals. Together, we can abolish frat-related violence on campus, and we need to create a safe space for learning within our UP Law campuses. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, let us hear from candidate Talusan.
So my sorority is UP Portia sorority, and it's a UP law-based sorority. And my stance is that I am against all forms of violence. And in Portia, I can proudly and confidently say that we don't practice or engage in any form of violence. Rather, we are focused on instilling excellence in women. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you to our candidates for answering that question. Now we will move on to our next question, which is directed to all candidates. The question is, how would you describe your political ideology? What is the most pressing issue in the university? And what is your stand on this issue? Let us first hear from candidate Obaldo.
Yes. To describe my political ideology, of course, I'm towards promoting rights, not just here in the university, but also in the country, and that also that we also need to respect the rule of law, which is always a cause of the violation of different rights, including constitutional rights among the different citizens of the country. Most pressing issue in the university, I think we really need to. One of the most pressing really is, I think that we have not been able to pass the Magna Carta yet, which is one of our assurances of rights among us students, which we can also which we can use whenever there are things that are not that our professors are unable to give to us. Sorry.
Thank you, candidate Obaldo. Let us now hear from our candidate for external vice president, candidate Gan.
Hello. I would describe my political ideology to come from me as a person. So a bit of a backstory. I'm actually working in the financial services sector, as well as I graduating with the undergrad in psychology. To sum it up, I think that personally to me, there are certain truths that change over time that need to be addressed. So I think when it comes to issues, they need to be settled on an issue by issue basis, as well as taking into account how they affect other related issues. So that means that it would depend on a very specific question or issue before I would say what my stand is on it, because I'd assess it fully or as much as I can first. I think that one of the most pressing issues in the university right now, I suspect that there might be a bit of a divide over the recent appointment of Dean Vistan as the UP Diliman Chancellor, because from what I remember, other parts of the university, especially the undergrad in the USC, ended up endorsing the Menzo. I think that Dean Vistan is a good pick. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate for internal vice president, candidate Vida.
Thank you very much. As for my political ideology, I'm always in favor of upholding the rights of our students, especially in the university and in the UP College of Law. And that's sort of the way I lean, where I would always take the side of the students in asserting whatever issues they may have before our university. So I think the most pressing issue in our university right now is the sexual harassment cases that have been happening in a certain political party. And I think my stance on the issue is that I would like to say that I am against all forms of sexual harassment and even harassment in general. And I think in the UP College of Law, we need to be proactive in this, in supporting the victim, connecting them to the necessary offices that need to be considered, such as the Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment, and ensure accountability on the perpetrator. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate for secretary.
Thank you for the question. To describe my political ideology, I am for the equal rights of all social classes. And one of the most pressing issue in the university right now for me is the red tagging of UP students and the constant surveillance of the student leaders. So my stand on this issue is to call against all forms of red tagging and call the UP admin to protect the interest of the students, especially the right to freedom of speech and of assembly. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now call on the candidate for treasurer, candidate Jeronimo.
Okay, so for my political ideology, I could say that I'm for the promotion of healthy democratic linkages and relationships across all spectrums, regardless of organization or affiliation. Now, for the pressing issue that faces the university, one thing that came to my mind is how we as scholars, ang bayan, would be able to maintain the high ranking of UP in the educational system, not only in the Philippines, but also in the world. So with that is a key thing to look at, because we are at the advent of what I would think is a renaissance, given the onset of digitization of learning during the pandemic. Hence, I think we should look to be more proactive as a stance to ride the new innovations that we're making in this age of digitalization in the 21st century. What not with AI, chat GPT, and all. those kinds of innovations. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for Public Relations Officer, candidate Chika.
Okay, thank you for the question. I would describe my political ideology in the sense that I believe that we should serve the people, serve the masses, serve the underprivileged, the underserved, and those who are being neglected by society. Prior entering UP Law, I've been joining rallies with the masses, with the underprivileged masses, with the marginalized sector, and I am very much aware of their plights. And this is my stance that we should always be there to serve them and to protect them, and to respect the rule of law, and to use them and not weaponize against those who are fighting or voicing out their opinions. And when it comes to the issue, a pressing issue, I would agree that it's also the red tagging, and I would like to call for the admin to uphold and protect the rights of the students at all costs. And my stand is we should not be silent on this. We should be part of those who are voicing out and being proactive about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Day representative, candidate Carmen.
Yes. So I would describe my political ideology as more on the liberal side. For me, the most pressing issue university-wide would also be the red tagging, and I agree that it should also involve the admin. The admin should also be involved in protecting the rights and welfare of the students, especially those who are victims of red tagging. And also, with regard to us in Iloilo as an Iloilo extension, the most important issue that we are facing right now is with regard to the upcoming shift to face-to-face, especially for our health concerns, our welfare as well, especially since most of us are from the provinces, we're not from Iloilo. So we also want this to be addressed by the admin, especially our facilities, the funding necessary for our stay in Iloilo. So those are the most pressing issues at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Evening representative, candidate Lencio.
To describe my political ideology, I'd say I'm more on the liberal side as well. I like to think that listening to the cries of the masses is the way to go, because the masses build up most of your constituents naturally. And then with regards to the most pressing issue right now, I have the same heart with said actually, because especially with the evening blocks, we're transitioning on a more face-to-face setup in Iloilo, with most of us being situated either in Mindanao or in Luzon, most of our jobs being situated in Mindanao or Luzon. So we'll have to relocate most of our jobs as well. We'll have to find new employments and stuff like that. And for that, I'd like to say that we really need the admin support. We really need some sort of spark or startup for us to build up on our law education in the Iloilo extension classes. So in that regard, we'll be lobbying for the admin support on that end.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate, one of the candidates for BGC Day representative, candidate De Luna.
So everyone, my political ideology is grounded progressivism. So with regards to the most pressing issue in the university, I believe that still the most pressing issue university-wide would be red tagging, and I'm strongly against this. Everyone deserves to have a voice, and everyone's voice should be heard. We're all law students. We're all going to be members of the legal profession, and we should all know that as one of the most sacred and fundamental constitutional rights, the freedom of speech and expression, everyone has a right to voice their concerns. And to address this, I believe that there should be heavy involvement with the admin to protect all students from all forms of red tagging. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the other candidate running for BGC Day representative, candidate Milian.
Hello. Personally, I lean towards a more liberal left ideology. As far as university issues are concerned, my most pressing concern is better student services. And for me, the best way to improve those services is to have a reliable and self-sustaining way to create LSG funds for the benefit of the students. Most of our revenue comes from donations and exacting monetary contributions from students. For me, we need more income generating projects where students can participate and contribute and at the same time benefit from those projects itself. With funds, we can improve basic student services for students of all backgrounds and a support campaign for a student body that is socially responsible and more aware. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear for one of the candidates for BGC Evening Representative, candidate Aronales.
I don't have a single specific political ideology, but instead a combination of believing and promoting in individual rights, social justice, promoting social welfare, and upholding the rule of law. As to what I think is the most pressing issue in the university right now, it's the instances of sexual harassment. It's widespread, and unfortunately, while it does happen, it's still kept under wraps. Unfortunately, there are still people who are protecting these sexual harassers, and they have not been brought to justice. So it's important that we help the victims and believe them when they speak out, and provide support for each other. We must listen, and together we should make this campus safer space for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the other candidate for BGC Evening Representative, candidate Sikat.
Hi. I, as a person, I believe in progressivism, and I believe that we need to deal with problems as they come in the context of what matters today. And as working students, we do tend to live on a day-to-day basis. And the most immediately pressing in our community would be coping with the very limited resources that we have, time, energy, and this should be addressed by really providing more services, more conducive study work-life environment for us. But university-wide, I noticed that the issue of affiliation is very polarizing. And coming from a school that does not allow fraternities, I believe that regardless of that, we need to look at people as they are, because as law students, we are trained to think objectively and not just because of ideologies or background. So maybe if we can view it with the cold neutrality of an impartial judge, then perhaps we can be a more united community. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from one of the candidates for fourth year batch representative, candidate Agabin.
So my political ideology would be described as something that's fair and then equitable. And for the second question, I guess a pressing issue that has been discussed is the commercialization of the lands in UP. I believe that it's not completely a bad thing. I believe that there are inefficiencies when it comes to the government, and I think the commercialization of some of the lands is one of the ways to address it. And I think that although it is commercialized, I believe that there are still ways for it to be used and to be utilized for the benefit of the students. And I feel like a lot of student participation can also go into these commercial lands as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the other candidate for fourth year batch representative, candidate Mendiola.
So hello, I would describe my political ideology to be progressive. In generally all matters of I lean left or am progressive in that in any matter. I think the main issue that I'd want to talk about is the accessibility of UP in general. How do we expect UP to be a shining bastion of education when most people can't afford to enter UP, especially the College of Law? Because to be successful in this country, you have to come from a good school. And how do we allow people like farmers' sons or jeepney drivers' children to come from a good school if they can't even pay the admission fee, if they can't even pay to take the UPCAT or the UPCA and any other thing like that. So I think that that's the main issue regarding this. And I think it's especially visible in the UP College of Law. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from one of the candidates for third year batch representative, candidate Chua.
I am a firm believer that the status quo has not served the marginalized sectors in our society for so long already. Liberation theology would call for the complete reform of the current systems and to create a new social order that will serve and include everyone, especially the marginalized sectors in our society. History would also show that it is this idealism coupled with effort that brought us where we are today. One of the issues that I think need more attention is the rapid deterioration of the mental health of our students. And I hate to see it. Academic excellence should not come at the expense of our well-being. As your next batch representative, I will push that we have access to affordable, if not free, psychological services. And to address burnout, we should have more initiatives that will allow students to just take a break and relax from their academic responsibilities.
Thank you. And lastly, let us hear from the another candidate for third year batch representative, candidate Talusan.
So I am all for democracy and ensuring that the constituents' voices are heard, and that their rights are in place for in the spirit of fairness and justice. In relation to this, I think the most pressing issue is the fact that the students' Magna Carta in UP has yet to be passed. I'm all for the passing or the ratifying of the Magna Carta because it is in the codification of the students' rights that will ensure that any UP community member who violates the rights as stipulated therein would be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I would like to thank the candidates for answering that question. For the next question, this is directed again to the candidate running for External Vice President, candidate Gan. And the question is, what are your plans for courts and conflicts?
Hello. Specifically, I would say that my plans would be to try and make it more exciting. That sounds very vague, but ultimately, I think that sports is something where you can show a story of perseverance in all sorts of people. People who get good at sports show up to all sorts of games. They're used to winning and losing, and they push themselves harder every single day. That's what I want to highlight because I think that that's something that deeply parallels what the law school experience is. And ultimately, on top of it being courts, I want it to be something that we law students can relate to and draw inspiration from. Specific plans, I want to make use of X deals to ideally get jerseys for the players. I want to expand it to 4 Sundays to build up that hype to coming into the final Sunday. I want to get all sorts of sponsors for it. I also want to make use of venues where you can have multiple sports or games ongoing at the same time. And I want to focus on core sports, which will draw a lot of attendees. Thank you.
Thank you. For the next question, this is directed to the candidate running for president, candidate Ubaldo. And the question is, considering the relatively low voter turnout for the past LSG elections, how will you increase the awareness of the LSG significance and consequently increase the voter turnout for the succeeding elections?
For this, we really need to show our constituents the different services that the LSG offers. And so besides just increasing the number of services that we do, we also have to make these services known. And because if people understand the significance of the LSG, understand the projects and the different visions that we have, then people also understand why we are in these positions, and also they in the end they also become more involved with the processes that happen in the UP law community. So as in my vision is really more of a one UP law community. We are not secluded just in our blocks, but really work together. And when we see this more comprehensive unity among students, we understand that we have to do things such as vote, and even besides that, have more candidates for the LSG positions as well.
Thank you, candidate Ubaldo, for answering that question. For our next question, this is directed to all the candidates. And the question is, to rate your predecessor, and what improvements will you do? So let us again start with candidate Ubaldo.
So I would rate my predecessor 9/10. We had Sean Palagoon at the time when the LSG was struggling, especially because of our lack of candidates for the different positions. We were basically half of an LSG that we had to work out with, and I really commend John Paul for organizing things because it was really difficult back then. Plus, we had to deal with the different issues, especially with the transition to face to face, in which Sean Paul really helped out with these issues. And so the improvements that I will do, I will not fault Sean Paul for this, but then I would really want to put more emphasis on welcoming freshies to us, to the community, because how as I've said, how we treat our freshies reflects how we are as a UP Law community. There's so much more we can do to make them feel welcome and prevent any of their hassles in this very difficult course. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate for external vice president.
Hello. My predecessor, or rather the current incumbent EVP, is EVP Pat Caryaga. And I think that he did a pretty good job, 9.5 out of 10, simply because he actually was able to make all sorts of moves towards the platforms that he promised at the start of his term. I think that he was able to do so in light of the complications that I know that he faced. I would also say that one of the biggest ways that this is shown is how, for example, he promised that he'd want to work with other law school student councils, and currently UP Law is back in the ALSP. In addition, he also wanted to revert courts from a online event to be more physical, and that's exactly what happened a few Sundays ago. He also wanted to assist orgs and batch reps in executing their planned events through partnerships and sponsorships, and I also see that it did work. I also would like to thank him for the work that he's done so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for internal vice president.
Thank you for the question. I would rate my predecessor, Jessica Nieka, a 9 out of 10. So I'd rate her a 9 because of all the things that she's done for the LSG. She's been the IVP for the past 2 years, and she's even served as a representative before. She knows the whole college in its ins and outs, the different processes, which offices to contact when there are problems, and especially in problem solving. She knows how to get things done. I'd rate her for points of improvement. I don't think these are things that I can fault Jess for, given that we started off the year last year without an IVP. So one of the points of improvement that I would like to have is in registration, specifically by creating a mind map or even helping out, especially our freshies in the coming years. Because as acting 1BR before, it is very difficult for me, given that I was thrust into a new role and I had to handle 2 batches. So now that equipped with more knowledge, I think this is something we need to be more proactive in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for secretary.
Thank you for the question. I would rate my predecessor a 9 out of 10. Secretary Aya had good projects as the incumbent secretary, especially since she juggled the role together with the position of evening representative. So she was able to come up with projects that help the UP Law community, and I hope to build on that through one of my projects, which is the maximizing the student lounge. So under that project, we will release a primer on the student lounge, on the operation hours, how do we maintain its order by coordinating with the maintenance staff, and also adding a water dispenser to the facility. Also, another improvement that I can suggest on my term is to encourage the students in the LSG meeting. So how do we do that? By making sure that we open the meetings to the student body, and maybe we could provide incentives like raffle games to the block so they can.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for treasurer.
Yes, so the incumbent LSG treasurer is Vico Obaldo, and I give him on a scale of 1 to 10 a 9 because, well, I believe that the core role of the LSG treasurer is to ensure that we have an adequate amount of resources in order for the LSG to execute all of its projects. And with that as basis, I think Vico really did a good job of putting in the necessary resources so that LSG could really execute all of its planned projects during the year. And on top of that, I had the chance to look at the treasurer's report, the most recent ones, and like I can say he did a good job of putting the funds of the LSG in a pretty good state of financial affairs that I will inherit if I get elected. And for the improvements, I wouldn't say improvements, but probably enhancements. I would like to capitalize off of the house rules that he has been implementing because I bring a different kind of perspective with my knowledge of best practices in my industry. So that's probably not something that I would like to enhance or build off from.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for Public Relations Officer.
Okay, thank you for that question. For me, I will rate my predecessor one for their effort to run as a PRO. But aside from that, I have no any basis for his performance. We did not even see him during his previous campaign, more so during his stint as a UP LSG PRO. And for the upcoming LSG PRO, I believe that there will be a more visible PRO performance in the upcoming school year. And I am looking forward to be a part of a more approachable, inclusive, and proactive LSG.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Day representative.
So luckily, I know my predecessor pretty well. My predecessor is myself. And I would rate myself a 9 out of 10. I made sure that I think that I've done much of what I promised when I first ran last semester, especially connecting UP Law and connecting UP Iloilo. With a mixer in Iloilo, I would think and I would hope that my constituents can attest that we have become closer as a community and we have integrated ourselves to the UP Law community as well with our fellowship night in Diliman. But of course, there's always room for improvement. There are still some platforms that we were not able to accomplish, such as the assistance to the upcoming freshies. And yeah, there's always room for improvement. And I hope that in the execution of the tasks and the promises that we made, we can still do better for next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Evening representative.
To rate myself, staying true to the university's rating system, 1 to 5, I would give myself a 1.25. Because similar to said, we've done most of what we promised. An acquaintance party for everyone, a working system for addressing grievances and whatnot. However, we've promised also some projects which we could not really fully implement yet because of the lack of the beneficiaries. For example, there's support to freshies, stuff like that. And aside from that, we've also we're also doing a lot of in-progress work, especially for ACAD support, considering how we're quite far off to our Diliman resource facilities, libraries, and whatnot. So that's an ongoing piece. And I think if we had made progress on that beforehand, for example, if we did that last week, I would have given myself a 1.0, but we have not finished it yet. So I'm going to give myself a 1.25.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates for BGC Day representative, candidate De Luna.
I would rate my predecessors 10 out of 10 because during their time, that was the best that they could do given the pieces that they played with. All perfect moves and no blunders. Given the transition from online to face-to-face, given what resources Representative Villarosa and Representative Solong had, they were able to bring the BGC Day community and even by extension, the evening as well, and even Diliman closer together. From the freshie welcoming, from the blood drives, the Christmas drives, and the Halloween parties, I really felt that as a BGC Day student, I was part of a bigger community. However, now that we're transitioning to finally a full face-to-face setup, there are even more opportunities to do as the BGC Day representative. We will continue with the community beneficial drives and mixers. We will focus on giving more charity opportunities for the BGC Day community to participate in, as it is something very close to my heart, and I believe it's an avenue to get BGC Day closer and at the same time help out to those in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let us hear for the other BGC Day representative candidate.
I would rate my predecessors a 10 out of 10. Thor and Lance were great representatives of the batch, and they are part of the reason I wanted to run for this position in the first place. They've been nothing but hardworking and effective in their positions. If I had to improve just one thing from their term, I want to make more active charity opportunities outside of just fundraisers and blood drives. I want to make charity-based initiatives where we can actually go to these communities and bond over these initiatives such as disaster relief and community farming, possibly. This is an opportunity for us to give back to the community, imbibe a sense of social responsibility, and make a difference together. I'm grateful for what Thor and Lance were able to achieve during their term, and I do plan on continuing many of their programs now that the ball is in our court to make it even better. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from one of the candidates for BGC Evening Representative, candidate Arenales.
So my predecessors are Ro Palma and Sam Anonas, and I would rate them both a 9 out of 10. So they were very helpful during their term. As a block president, I had no problems reaching out to them regarding concerns from my block. They were they responded easily, and whatever concerns we had as a block, they were able to address. So I was very happy with their performance as BGC Eve rep. So of course, I am hoping to continue all of the projects that they have launched so far. And as to improvements, those are actually part of my platform already, that bringing back full use of the campus facilities, as well as express response to concerns and ensuring the complete utilities to ensure that all BGC Eve students have a comfortable campus experience. Thank you.
Sorry, let us now hear from the other BGC Evening Representative candidate, candidate Sikat.
Thank you. I'm rating them 9.5 out of 10 because, like Bian said, they really did a good job in making us feel that our voices were heard. We had bargaining power when it comes to things involving evening students. And they're actually the ones who inspired me to run because I saw how we could make a difference. So thanks, Bai and Ro. And it's 9.5, not that because there's anything missing, but that there's always something to improve on. And I want to focus on improving how we bring together the community, since there's a lot of potential with maximizing the networks that we have as working students. And I feel like even at my very best, there will always be something to improve on, especially since that's how we function as a society. Like in the context of laws, jurisprudence, we adapt with the changing times. And what's good for us now may not be what's good for us in the future. So that's what the 0.5 is for. So I never lose sight of always wanting to improve. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from one of the candidates for fourth year batch representative, candidate Agabin.
For me, I would give Flam a 10 out of 10. I saw how she worked for her batch and the grad fund projects that she did, and especially the yearbook. I saw how she raised a lot of funds, and I think that's very commendable for her, especially since it was just her who was the batch rep and she did it in a semester. I think that I have a big shoe to fill. I have ways that I can improve on more by trying my best to get my batch together to be able to be as active as theirs, and for us to be able to surpass them in what they've achieved previously. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let us hear from the other candidate for fourth year batch representative, candidate Mendiola.
So I'd like to rate Coco and Michiko, who were our batch representatives this year, as I feel I'm their proper successor in our role as taking care of the batch. So I'd give them a 10 out of 10. Personally, I've experienced being helped by Michiko and Coco multiple times, especially with Michiko, because I feel like as a close friend, I was able to approach her. And I was also able to feel the desire of the two to have batch bonding activities, especially with the activities that they plan in the Humans of Malcolm type initiatives that they had in our chat. To improve, I would like to produce more of these activities and to have more bonding opportunities for the batch. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from one of the candidates running for third year batch representative, candidate Chua.
I really appreciated Vida and Martin's service as a member of the second year batch. Hi, Vida. So I'd rate them 9.5 out of 10 because I really saw how they advocated for us, updated us with timely announcement and news, and came up with initiatives to bond with each other. After a year of full online classes, so hindi yun madali. So I hope to emulate that with my co-candidate, Selena. 9.5 not because they fell short, but because I believe that there's always room for improvement. And one of the few things that I would like to enhance is really having more opportunities for the batch to gather and get to know each other, and at the same time have a more efficient information dissemination through text blasts and email blasts.
Thank you. And lastly, let us hear from the other candidate for third year batch representative, candidate Talusan.
I would be giving my predecessors, the incumbent third year batch reps, a score of 9 out of 10. So the current batch reps were able to implement the projects that they proposed, especially in executing destinations and raising funds for LSG. They were able to integrate their batch into Malcolm, especially since it was during their term that we had slowly transitioned from an online to a face-to-face setup. However, I felt that they lacked in fostering awareness on matters beyond the classroom setting. And with my platform, I propose to ensure that the batch would be made aware through campaigns of current events and lessons beyond our academics. Thank you.
Thank you. So for this question about rating your predecessors, there will actually be a follow-up question as to directed to the incumbent officers who was previously rated by the other candidates. So the question would be, how do you feel about the rating that they gave you? So among these incompetent officers, we will be calling candidate Ubaldo and candidate Gan. So first, let us hear from candidate Ubaldo. How did you feel about your rating, the rating that one of the other candidates gave you regarding your work as an LSG officer this year?
So I'm really thankful for Josh's rating. He actually reached out to me, so I really appreciate the very fact that Josh reached out to me and asked for the financial statements, which I've always been showing to the GAs anyway. And of course, I really appreciate his thoughts on how to improve the term more as treasurer. Thank you.
Next, let us hear from candidate Gan.
Hello. Okay. So I think how I feel about my rating, I'm not too worried about it because I think it is a fair assessment given what I know the current candidate for PRO, Jessica Chica, can see. It will excuse, like for instance, the year is ending, I couldn't do much, but I'll take it head on and as a challenge to improve the last 6 weeks I have in the role. Also, I think that we're doing pretty well with all except for one of our PubMats at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, we will also add, we would also like to hear from candidate Vida because one of the other candidates also rated his performance. Candidate Vida.
Thank you for the question. I'm very appreciative of the ratings that Mark and Sel gave to me. I'm sure there are different points of improvement that could be made. There's no such thing as perfect. But I'm very confident in them moving forward that in the role of being batch rep, they can take care of the batch just as hard as I did taking care of mine. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So again, thank you to the candidates for answering this question. Next, again, to lighten up the mood, we will be giving a chummy question. And this question might actually give us more insight on how our candidates actually are as a person. So this is directed to all of our candidates. And the question is, what is your ideal second date? So let us first hear from the candidate running for president, candidate Ubaldo.
Ideal second date. So that means it should be somewhere a little more At first kasi dapat a little more fun. Tapos, wait, bakit TMI to? Bakit, bakit ganito yung question? Anyway, ayun. So a little more, pwedeng, like a nicer place, like a bit fancier. You can still be able to communicate a little more intimate details. Ayun. Pwede yun lang ba? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from candidate Gan.
Hello. My ideal second date is something that I would say to be interactive because I think the first date is something where you just get to know them on a broader level. So I think the second date would be something playing off of what you learned about them in the first date. So that's what I mean by something interactive. So you can get to know them more. So maybe like a game or badminton or some other thing where you can go work with or against them. If it's competitive, as well as going to dinner right after, just to like cool off and then talk about what fun we had throughout the day. So yeah, it'd be something interactive like a sport or a game that would be fun. Actually, yeah, maybe a road trip too. That would be fun, but I don't think that's something that most people be down for on a second date. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for internal vice president, candidate Vida, sorry.
Hi, my girlfriend's watching. Hi, Tia. My ideal second date was with her when we spent time studying in FATSEED. So our first date was medyo bongga. Pero I would say that our second date was very ideal because we saw how our relationship would normally go, like being a student in law for my case and a student in med in her case. That's sort of our everyday, and I love our everyday. Bang! So thank you very much for the question.
Thank you. So next, let us hear from the candidate running for secretary, candidate Bael.
For me, the ideal second date will be a study date in commons, just so I can show the person the available student services in UP Law and maybe get his thoughts on how we can better improve student services in the college. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for treasurer, candidate Geronimo.
Okay, so for me, I'm kind of an old school guy when it comes to dating. So probably what I want to do is to go to mass in a certain church. Say for me, I'm quite a religious person din eh, and even as a law student, dapat hindi tayo mawala yung spiritual relationship with the man above. So yeah, that's what I would go for. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for public relations officer, candidate
Okay.
Chika.
Thank you for that question. For me, like, I'm also an old school, pero siguro for me, ang second date will be 1 hour of karaoke and then inom na lang after and then we'll talk. Because I'm a fan of deep conversation and mas gusto ko yung nadi-discuss kami about issues or anything about ourselves because that's the only way for me to know the person more. As a person with high chance of anxiety attacks, it's important for me to know more about the person I'm talking to or I'm spending my time with. Ayoko kasi nag-waste ng time lang. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for one of the candidates. Sorry, no. One candidate running for Iloilo Day representative, candidate Carmen.
Yeah, so my ideal second date, actually, she's watching, and we haven't had the second date yet. So as not to give as much spoilers, it will probably be a road trip to some faraway place and go to one of her favorite restaurants there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Evening representative.
Yes, my ideal second date actually happened during the face-to-face classes recently in Iloilo. So what we did was we went somewhere, this sort of like very cultural coffee shop in Iloilo. We got to talk there about the history of the place and stuff like that. And then we drank coffee, we ate, shared a meal, and talked about each other, stuff like that.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates running for BGC Day representative, candidate De Luna.
So I would like to inhibit myself from answering this question. Baka kasi nanonood yung crush ko. Surprise na lang muna. So trade secret. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, let us hear from the other candidate running for BGC Day representative, candidate Milian.
Hi, yes. My ideal second date was my second date with my girlfriend. It was a nice walk around the park, then a nice picnic dinner with a sunset view in Pampanga. I feel it provided the best atmosphere to really get to talk to someone better and really get to know each other. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates running for BGC Evening representative, candidate Aranales.
So my ideal second date would be somewhere quiet, probably a coffee shop. So my date and I can keep on talking without the pressure of like filling in the silences. And yeah, I guess if it's during like if the date happens during the academic year, should probably a study date. Because like as a working student, I don't really have that much time. So the date should happen either when I'm studying or I'm working. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the other candidate running for BGC Evening representative, candidate Sikat.
Always been in a long-term relationship, so I honestly don't know how it feels like to date anymore. But I am a person who likes to try something new. So maybe if my date could make an effort to figure out what I like and what I haven't tried yet, and organize something interactive that we could try together, maybe that would make it ideal for me. So plus points. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates for fourth year batch representative, candidate Agabin.
Hello. My ideal date would be a cooking date. I enjoy cooking, and cooking for someone special to me really means a lot for me, and especially being able to enjoy the food afterwards. So cooking date for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the other candidate for fourth year batch representative, candidate Mendiola.
Hi, so I'd just like to say hi to my girlfriend. She's not watching, but her friends are, so baka naman they can tell her to watch for me. And my perfect second date would be if we could watch a movie together. I really love movies and I love talking about movies. So if we could watch a movie together and maybe talk about it afterwards over dinner, that would be really nice.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidates for third year batch representative, starting with candidate Chua.
So for me, my ideal second date siguro is watching a theater production. I'm a theater kid. So I really love to watch theater productions and talk about it afterwards.
And lastly, let us hear from candidate Talusan, running for third year batch representative.
Sorry, wala akong masya-shoutout unlike the other candidates kasi wala akong boyfriend. So since first dates are spent getting to know the other person more, edi sa second date, lock in na agad. So my ideal second date would be sa church kasi magpapakasal na kami agad. Kasi I'm sure na I know him enough to marry him. And sabi nga ng mama ko, if magbo-boyfriend na ako, dapat ready na rin ako for marriage.
Thank you to our candidates. I hope those people watching this convocation today learned more about them through that question. So now let's go to the next question, which is directed to the candidate running for president, candidate Ubaldo. And the question is, what inspired you to run for the position of law student government president? How do you plan to engage with and represent the diverse perspectives and interests of law students?
Yeah, so for this, so I've been in the LSG for a while now, and then honestly, to add on to this is that I was able to experience the full face-to-face when I was in med school. And back then, there was so many activities for freshies. We had review sessions. We had a counterpart to Malcolm Madness. And then besides that, I was also, to prepare for this, I also interviewed some of the presidents of the LSG before the pandemic. And then they said that, yes, the UP law community was very much thriving. And then just to summarize what one of the previous president said. He said, UP Law was like one big high school. Parang siyang isang malaking high school. Ganun ka together talaga. And then, sorry, I'll answer the second question. To plan to do this, we need to get to know more about each other, and we need to serve one another. And that is how we engage everyone in this UP Law community.
Thank you. Now for the next question. This is directed to the candidate running for treasurer, candidate Geronimo. The question is, why did you not campaign so much in BGC and Iloilo, given that they are still your constituents?
Okay, so to be honest, that could be attributed to the time constraints that I have, given that I am a working student. But nonetheless, I would ensure that my campaign, all of my platforms will be disseminated to them, because I do conduct RTRs with the other blocks in BGC and Iloilo still. So I would ensure that these kinds of information would still be properly reaching them, or then to get to know more about me. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is directed to the candidate running for internal vice president, candidate Vida. The question is, what steps would you take to ensure that the law students have access to the resources and support that they need to succeed academically and professionally?
Thank you very much for the question. This is definitely something that I would want to consult with the future central board, given that some of these concerns may fall under the Basic Services Committee. We need the proper delineation of our responsibilities. However, on my part, number one would obviously be reaching out to these students. As second year batch representative, I was very proactive in the different concerns of our students. And my batchmates always knew that I was always a message away with any concern that they had. So with regard to resources and support for their success academically and professionally, first of all, one thing that I want to do is by creating a better post for our different internship opportunities in the law community hub, and to make that law community hub more active in general. Furthermore, with the different communications and the different modes of how I want to be more transparent with the different opportunities available to our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Now that is to the next question. This is also directed again to the candidate running for president, candidate Ubaldo. The question is, what were the projects you promised during your campaign as treasurer, and were you able to do them?
So two main ones. First is was that for every time that we had a GA, we had to release a financial report, or we had to at least show it, and which I was able to do. And second, I also wanted to do more merchandise selling. So this is in process. The supplier is already I already ensured that the supplier, we will be releasing the forms very soon. And so this is actually this is ongoing, and I'll be able to finish this before the term ends. Thank you.
Thank you. So for the next question, this is directed to the candidate running for Public Relations Officer, candidate Chika. The question is, what specific skills and experiences do you bring to the table that would make you an effective PRO?
Thank you for that question. I think there are some skills that I've gathered during my working stints, and one of this is my management skills. And I've been doing management for roughly 8 years or more now, and it's something that I could bring to the table and to the UPLSG when it comes to doing a PRO skills, and also utilizing the PRC, or the Public Relations Committee, and also my creative skills. I've been doing creative PubMats and other things related to it, and my communication skills as well, because I also work as a communications officer in the past year. So it's something that instilled in me, and also to add to it is a time management because as what I said earlier, I hate wasting time. So for me, it will be something that I will pressure my co-LSG members to work effectively and on time. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for the next question. This is directed to the candidate running for secretary, candidate Bael. And the question is, what are your basic services projects beyond a primer? Aren't primers supposed to be under the PRO and not the secretary?
Thank you for the question. My other projects that are not primers include having a book drive. So in this project, we will reach out to the professors, alumni, and students who can lend their books and have a database of available references. Also, we will have an LSG corner where we will post the announcements and minutes on the official online platforms of and as well as on the central bulletin board. And one project that I will also introduce is having a mini store, which we will have face masks, antigen kits, and office supplies in the LSG office, which will be available to the students for sale. With regard to the primers being under the PRO and not the secretary, I see it that our tasks should not clash. Instead, as your basic student services head, I will provide the information which she will put in the primers and in the publications, which will be disseminated to the students. So we will work hand in hand. I'm not taking her project. So thank you for that.
Thank you. So now we are down to our second to the last question, and this is directed to all of the candidates. Question is, what LSG activities have you volunteered or participated in during your stay in the college? So let us start with the candidate running for president, candidate Ubaldo.
Hello. So I've been in the LSG for a while. So many of these activities, siguro I can just try to recall some of the most significant ones. So one of my projects was the mental health seminar last semester, which was the first time that we had a mental health seminar for a while. Also, since as treasurer, I was also involved in the different activities of the LSG. So generally, I had a role in that. Next, there was also activities such as the one for the incoming fourth years, the OLA SLR. I cannot recall the others, but definitely I've been in the LSG for a while, and honestly, I can say that I'm an active participant in the LSG and the different activities of the college. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let us hear from the candidate running for external vice president, candidate Gan.
Hello. From recent memory, the ones that come to mind are primarily Inter-Eve, as well as Kapihan, where we had to render shifts as members of the LSG. Regarding other activities, I would have to cite the creation of statements made by the UP LSG. The first draft often goes to me. Also, as well as the various PubMats. So we're targeting to release one later today. That's a surprise, but it should be obvious, as well as all of the PubMats before this, as well as most of the PubMats before this. Because if some projects have their own PubMats, us in the PRC, we just more or less comment on it. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Now let us hear from the candidate running for internal vice president, candidate Vida.
Thank you very much for the question. As second year batch representative, I was present in when we had Kapihan for our students during our midterm season. The LSG Tambay, where students come to the Tambay to purchase test kits or even ask questions. As for my own projects, we had the student features, which I fixed all on my own before I had a co-batch rep in Martin. We had bonding sessions as well. I also participated in ADAPT during my year as a freshman, but not yet as a second year batch representative. And I was also overseeing the mounting of the ADAPT for the freshmen this year. Furthermore, I also helped out, or I was the primary point person for registration for both first year students and second year students, especially at the start of the year when we did not have an IVP. And there were also many more that I do not have time to count. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let us hear from the candidate running for secretary, candidate Bael.
Thank you for the question. One activity that I participated in was as a freshman, I joined the ADAPT, and then recently, just last March, I volunteered in Destinations. So during Destinations, I was part of the programs committee where I helped find hosts for the program, and I also conducted Zoom Tech during the program proper. And then we held the events in the student lounge, and actually this inspired some of my projects coming in as your basic student services head. So again, one of my projects is having an improvement and utilization of the student lounge, since it was just last March where I just found out about the area. So again, one of my projects as your next head is having a primer in the student lounge and detailing all its operating hours. And then also during Dusty, I was also able to meet the firms, and then this inspired one of my projects in the future, which is the worker internship red. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for treasurer, candidate Geronimo.
So during my time in UP Law, so the most recent one would be my volunteering work as part of the exhibits committee for the successful holding of the Culminite during the Inter-Eve week. So from there, I was able to really immerse myself with the different people in the UP Law community, and had a chance then to get to know their thoughts then in that I used then as input that had also inspired me then to run as LSG treasurer. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for public relations officer, candidate Chika.
Thank you for that questions. I think I have a lot of participation, but these are the things that I remember. When I was in first year 2020, I joined the activity of esports, so I played there and I also did the pub mats. Then I also joined the volunteer for a project under the former PRO CESTAN. So we did a project about COVID and the updates. Next is I also joined the IDAP 2021 team as a creatives. We did some pub mats. Another is I also recently I joined the Desti 2023. I also did some pub mats. And then the recently is the course of law where I played different sports and I also did the pub mats and assisted at the venue, did the scoring and assisted the LSG and other stuff that they needed. So I know that there are a lot of activities I also joined informally, but I couldn't remember the name. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Day representative, candidate Carmen.
Yeah, so for as a participant and as a freshman, I've joined the ADAPT during the start of last semester, and as Iloilo rep, we held in my capacity as Iloilo rep, the first event that we held was the UP Iloilo Mixer during our face-to-face in Iloilo, and as LSG, we also assisted the admin in the Malcolm Mixer the Malcolm Fellowship event that was held last April. We helped particularly in the dissemination and the invitation of the participants to join these events. Also, as an LSU member, we've been participative in Kapihan sessions through Discord since we are not in Malcolm. And we also helped out our batch reps, Julian and Mia, for participants in courts. We were able to send out members of the Iloilo community to join some of the esports and the actual sport during our stay in the Liman for courts. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Evening representative, candidate Lenshaw.
Yes. As a participant, I was there as well in ADAPT last year in my first semester. And then starting the second semester, since it was only in second semester that we started becoming Iloilo Evening representatives, Iloilo representatives, me and said, I together with Mia, the first year bachelorette, worked on some Zoom tech for Ola SLR. And then I was also assigned to do some shifts for Kapihan in the Discord. And then overall, we did a lot of support for the fellowship activities of the Iloilo Extension Active classes, not only on our campus, but also in Diliman. mostly for dissemination, other types of support, collecting and collating grievances to communicate to the admin as well, stuff like that.
Thank you. Let us now hear from one of the candidates running for BGC Day representative, candidate De Luna.
So I would be proud to say that I've participated in most, if not all, BGC Day activities, from the blood drive, from the UP streaming to batch mixers like parties. I also participated in courts and even destinations, and I even helped out during Kapihan. I was in no way affiliated with the LSG, but to me, UP BGC is my second home. And of course, what anyone would do, they would want to make their home a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the other candidate running for BGC Day representative, candidate Milian.
Hello. I participate in the Christmas drive and destinations and all of the different initiatives of the past day reps, such as the UP streaming on campus and other mixers. And I also made many of the pubs for the campus announcements, despite not being LSG. I was very active in many of the different campus events and initiatives, especially those by our previous day reps, Lance and Thor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates running for BGC Evening Representative, candidate Aranales.
So, as a block president also, I've been heavily involved in a lot of the LSG activities, but what comes to mind are Kapihan, Inter-Eve, Eve Week, Adapt, of course, and the mental health webinar that the LSG recently did. There, thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's hear from the other candidate running for BGC Evening Representative, candidate Sikat.
Hi, for the most recent one, it was Inter-Eve. The entire evening week, we participated, and I was actually one of the people in the pub mats leading to the event. I also volunteered to sponsor the event under my small business, Kudos and Coffee, if you know that. And I made an effort to really convince our block to join and support. I actually convinced even the ones on LOA to join that event because I do really like to bring people together, which I hope to do for our community. And also with Kapihan at the Commons, which I plan to further contribute to through Kodals and Coffee. I also plan to introduce some new activities for the evening community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates running for fourth year batch representative, candidate Agabin.
I've participated in courts ever since I was in first year. And recently, I was fortunate to be able to be a part of the core team of courts and help organize the different events. And I also joined Destinations this year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates for fourth year batch representative, candidate Mendiola.
So regarding the LSG activities, I participated in destinations this past semester, and I've also participated in Adapt twice actually. And most importantly, I believe that what's most important is that I participate in batch bonding activities that we have now, to getting to know my blockmates and batchmates, and I think that's something I want to continue moving forward in next coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates running for third year batch representative, candidate Chua.
So I've been more active this academic year. I participated in the courts of law and played in different sports where we won bronze in basketball and then Valorant, and also won gold sa tug of war. And then attending batch gatherings, whether formal or informal.
Thank you. And lastly, let us hear from the other candidate running for third year batch representative, candidate Talusan.
The most recent LSG activity that I participated in was also Courts of Law with my blockmates and other batchmates. And I also participated in Adapt as a freshman. Lastly, I participated in the projects hosted by the incumbent two BRs, so Vida and Martin. So I especially made sure na my blockmates participated as well as their blockmate. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have our last question for this to our candidates for this convocation. And don't worry, candidates, it's another light question, and it's just a way for us to end our question and answer portion for the convocation. So the question is, kung donut ka, yung may butas or yung may filling, at bakit? So that's our last question, and let us hear from the candidate running for president, candidate Ubaldo.
What? Feeling para may laman. I don't. Thank you.
Candidate Ubaldo, there's a follow question. Bakit daw po? Bakit yung may feeling?
Okay, sorry. I think I have a few more seconds, but then, ayun, gusto ko yung substantial. Madaming, madaming ma-offer sa tao. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, let us hear from the candidate running for external vice president, candidate Gan.
Hello, if I was a donut, I would like to be a donut na may butas, only because my favorite donut is actually the choco glaze. So that's like the Krispy Kreme one where it's kind of like cakey. I also get the same donut at Dunkin' Donuts, but I can also appreciate a good choco butternut depending on my mood. But something about the glaze and the sweetness, as well as it's sometimes moist, as well as the cake texture makes it really tasty for me. And it's something that I used to go to sometimes on the way home from school. So I think that's why it's my favorite, just because of those memories. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for internal vice president, candidate Vida.
If I were a donut, I'd want to be yung may filling because there's always more than meets the eye. Parang medyo mataba lang yung donut, but you don't really know what's inside. But usually you're happy with what you find out. And that's similar to me. For those people that don't know me, I hope I make you happy with what you find out about how I would want to lead you as your future internal vice president in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for secretary, candidate Bael.
If I were a donut, siguro yung donut na lang na may butas. Kasi with my projects and my passion to serve, ako yung kukumpleto doon sa butas na yun sa LSG. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for treasurer, candidate Geronimo.
For me, I like to consume yung mga donut na may feeling kasi I always the person din na would like variety and surprises. So pagkagat mo, you can choose to have different flavors and all. My personal favorite na donut na may feeling yung Bavarian. So yun. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us have the candidate running for public relations officer, candidate Chika.
For me, also yung may feeling kasi I believe na maja-judge mo lang siya sa panlabas eh. Hindi mo siya maja-judge sa panloob unless binili mo, kinagat mo, kinilala mong mabuti. So the only way for you to find out kung ano yung nasa laman niya or kung nasaan yung kulo niya or yung kiliti niya is to actually know the person or know the donut. Bibilin mo, i-consume mo, and judge saka mo i-judge. Magiging valid yung judgment mo. And I think that's reflect of how I am kasi I'm madalas din naman ako na-judge. Pero once na nakilala na ako ng mga tao, doon lang nababago yung perspective nila about me. And it's okay for me. The only way for you to judge me is to really know me better. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us have the candidate running for Iloilo Day representative, candidate Carmen.
Kung naging donut ako, siguro yung may feeling din. Bukod sa mas masarap, it's also mas may substance siya, mas may yun nga, may laman. And there's that element of risk then, like what they said, na sometimes you don't know what it's gonna taste like or what it's gonna be sa loob. But if you take a chance, then more often than not, masasatisfy ka naman. So I hope that I get to share that then when I become Iloilo Day representative. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us have the candidate running for Iloilo Evening Representative, candidate Lencio.
Yes. Personally, if I would be a donut, I would be one with a filling. Specifically, I would aspire to be a Boston cream donut, which is my favorite. Because you might see as of the moment, I'm on the darker side. So I'd like to think that, like the Boston cream, I can be aesthetically dark. But then again, once you taste it, you initially you'd think it's just a chocolate donut, but then when you taste it, it's more than just a chocolate donut. It has this sweet filling inside that that makes it more delectable. So just like the Boston cream, when you get to know me more, you'll find out more stuff about me. You'll find out that I can be a sweet guy, stuff like that.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates running for BGC Day representative, candidate De Luna.
If I were a donut, I'd be yung may filling para may kapiling. So again, like a donut with filling, most often than not, you'll never know what you're going to get until you bite into it. And most often than not, it's something really sweet. And I guess that's how I am as a person. Once you get a bite of me, then perhaps you'll know that I'm more than just some sugar glazed, sugar coated donut. So same as me becoming your next BGC Day representative. I have a lot to offer. And the only time that you can actually taste that is if you give me a chance. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the other candidate running for BGC Day representative, candidate Milian.
Hi, if I was a donut, I'd be donut filling. Firstly, my favorite donut is the Bavarian from Dunkin'. So, yon. And I believe that it's the inside that's important, or that's what counts. So, more inside, that's better. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates running for BGC Evening representative, candidate Aranales.
So similar to the previous answer, I also actually want to be a donut with filling, specifically Bavarian because it's my favorite. So Bavarian supremacy. And yeah, like for a more serious answer, it's because I know that I have a lot to offer. So being a donut with filling would be much more fit for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the other candidate running for BGC Evening representative, candidate Sikat.
Ako yung may filling din. And then sobrang coincidence lang kasi tatlo kami magkakasunod. Favorite ko din yung Bavarian ng Dunkin' Donut kasi gusto ko mas exciting. Yung every bite keeps you wanting more. And there's also that extra challenge of, I don't know if it's just me, pero yung pagkakasyahin mo yung filling dun sa bread ng donut niya. So it's like us as working students, sa pinapagkasya namin yung time, energy, budget, just to survive law school in hopes of a happy or satisfactory ending from the donut you bought with your hard-earned money. Thank you.
Thank you. So next, let us hear from one of the candidates running for fourth year batch representative, candidate Agabin.
I would like to be yung donut na may filling because it reminds me of a joke which I have time to tell, I think. So, ano sabi ni Mommy Donut, kay Baby Donut nung umakyat siya ng puno? Oh no, anak, Bavarian. Anyways, yun lang. And I feel like I'm a donut with filling because if you get something from me, I'm going to give you all and walang nagkukulang sa gitna. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the other candidate running for fourth year batch representative, candidate Mendiola.
So if I were a donut, I'd be one with the filling also because I'm an emotional person. So marami akong feelings. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates running for third year batch representative, candidate Chua.
Kung donut ako, yung may feeling. Kasi may filling. Kasi yung may butas, wala laman sa gitna. Yung tao, pag wala laman sa gitna, walang puso. Di ka makapagserbisyo sa tao kung wala kang puso para sa kanila.
Thank you. And lastly, let us hear from the other candidate running for third year batch representative, candidate Talusan.
Kung donut ako, mas gusto ko maging donut na may butas para you can fill me up with your love. Thank you.
Thank you. And so that ends our question and answer portion for the candidates. I hope that the questions that our student body sent to us were answered well. And I hope that the people who asked these questions were satisfied. And I also hope that the candidates were able to express themselves through these questions. So we would like to thank So now before we end, so it's not yet the end of our convocation. Before we end, we will be giving the candidates another opportunity for their closing spells, for which they have 2 minutes to deliver. So again, let us start with the candidate for third year batch representative, Selena Talusan.
So again, thank you for listening on this convocation. So with so much on our plate as incoming third year students, I'm dedicated to helping you all solve that difficult puzzle of life and law school with my plans, SEL. S for streamlining connections and processes, E for enhancing batch engagement, and L for learning with awareness. Again, I'm Selena Talusan, running for third year batch representative, your solution for the next school year. So please don't forget to exercise your right to vote on May 16 to 20. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the other candidate running for third year batch representative, candidate Mark Christian Chua.
With the 4 check marks in mind, I firmly believe that I have the skills and experience necessary to represent your interests. With what I have promised you and with a proven track record of getting things done, you can be assured that with these guiding principles, the batch will be duly served, its needs provided, and better versions of ourselves achieved. If you elect me as your batch representative, I will embody the role with utmost humility, keeping in mind that even with the competence I intend to exemplify, there is still a lot for me to learn about this undertaking, but more importantly, about our batch. My platform is there. It's clear and concrete, but I will not hesitate to drop any endeavor in a snap of a finger if it no longer serves the interests of the batch. I am a person who listens and empathizes, one who stays with you and gets you out of crisis, one who strives to bring out the best in every single one of you. I intend to maintain and develop these qualities as a leader that will put you first no matter what. When we transitioned to face, I felt the warmth of the community at large, and that made me resolute to run and hope to be elected as your next batch representative. I want to not only maintain that culture, but also foster it, making sure that the same warmth that I felt is felt by every single one of you to help us reach our full potential. Batch 2025, there's nowhere to go but up. So, with the hashtag remarkable leadership, I humbly ask that you allow me to help you in making our junior year our best one yet. Again, this is Mark Chua from 2H, your next third year batch representative.
Thank you. Next, let us now hear from one of the candidates running for fourth year batch representative, candidate Ramon Joaquin Mendiola.
So if I may speak from the heart, to all of my batchmates, I just wanted to thank you for all of your having accepted me into your batch. I was not originally a member of this batch. I was a member of the batch previously, but I dropped out of law school and came back. And because of this, I felt alone, I felt afraid, and I felt like I could not trust anyone in our batch, but you guys all welcomed me, and I'm so grateful for that. So all of us, we've gone through 3 years of law school together without actual necessary support that we need. And I believe that now is the time to not only finish together, but finish strong. So it is our batch that will determine our own fate. Kasi kung di tayo, chino pa. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the other candidate for fourth year batch representative, candidate Jose Gabriel Agabin.
Hello. I envision my batch to carry the values of community and excellence. Community not only as to within the batch, but of a feeling of community that extends to others in the UP Law community as well. Excellence also in our pursuit of law, as well as excellence in all that we do in life. And to be honest, it gets me very excited to think of the endless opportunities that I'll have in the following year. And it gets me excited to be able to get to know people from my batch. And I'm really thankful for the opportunities to be able to share my ideas with them. So I believe the batch is full of potential, and I want to be able to tap into that, and I want to be able to give them the best experience that they can have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from one of the candidates running for BGC Evening Representative, candidate Alvea Joy Sikat.
Thank you, Patricia and the UP Elecom. For my outro, I've been working for 8 years now, and I believe with my experiences, I can help the evening community maximize our advantage as working students in terms of tapping into each other's networks and really just trying to make a more connected community so we can help each other out, not just within the campus, but also outside as members of our own industries. And if ever I do get the honor of being selected, I can guarantee that I will make an effort to elevate your evening student experience one practical step at a time. Thank you for hearing out my platform, and all I ask is for your support to help me help you. Practicality, inclusivity, connectivity. Like Meredith Grey said in Grey's Anatomy, pick me, choose me, pick AV CCAT as your BGC evening representative, and AV there for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the other candidate running for BGC Evening Representative, candidate Bienel Aronales.
As a working law student, I understand the importance of having a strong and supportive community to rely on, specifically here in the BGC evening community. That's why my platform is centered around bringing back the full use of campus facilities, promoting open communication, and ensuring that all students have access to the resources they need to thrive. If elected, I will work tirelessly to communicate with my fellow students to ensure that everyone's voice is heard and that we can work together to address any concerns that arise. I will continue the projects already in action, and I believe that my experience in education allows me to do just this and thrive in this position. Thank you for allowing me to share my platform, and I look forward to the opportunity to serve you as your BGC evening representative and make a positive impact on our law student community. I am Ben Aronales, Ben always there for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let us go hear from the candidate running for BGC Day representative, Marco Gabriel Milian.
Hello. In closing, I just want to reaffirm my commitment to each one of you. As your BGC Day representative, I've outworked tirelessly to ensure that your voices are not just heard, but amplified. I will champion your needs, address your concerns, and work relentlessly to elevate our collective experience here at BGC. My campaign is built on the pillars of campus improvement, fostering community through mini events, and driving impact through community initiatives. From resupplying our campus printer to organizing network nights, from streaming UAP games to leading charity and fundraising initiatives, I'm committed to making our campus a better place for all of us. Our strength lies in our diversity and unity. Together, we can create a vibrant, engaged, and inclusive community that promotes growth, collaboration, and a shared sense of purpose. I'm excited about the prospect of fostering this sense of unity and purpose among us. And as we approach this election, I ask for your support. A vote for me, Marco, is a vote for a representative who will listen, advocate, and take action. It's a vote for improvement, for engaging events and meaningful initiatives. But above all, it's a vote for you, for your voice, your needs, and your aspirations. Remember, we have the power to shape our law school experience. Remember, Marco, mobilize, advocate, responsive, collaborative, and open-minded. Make your mark with Marco. Together, we can create the supportive, engaging, and vibrant community in BGC that we all deserve. Thank you for your time, your consideration, and hopefully your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the other candidate running for BGC Day representative, Gianfranco De Luna.
So in closing, everyone, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to my platform and for considering me as your next BGC Day representative. My Unite, Nurture, and Advocate platform is centered around creating a collaborative and supportive environment for BGC Day. I believe that through unity, growth, and representation, we can achieve great things and make a positive impact in our BGC Day community. With your support and your trust, I am confident that I can serve as an effective and dedicated representative of everyone's needs and concerns. So everyone, remember, una ka kay De Luna. Again, I am Gian De Luna, your next BGC Day representative. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let us hear from our candidate running for Iloilo Evening Representative, candidate Earl Vincent Lencio.
Yes, hello. I'll keep this short considering that it's Sunday, Mother's Day. Most of us we should probably be out there preparing for our own Mother's Day surprises and dinners already. But first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. For everyone stealing through the campaign period, listening to different room to rooms and stuff like that. Must have been quite hectic for a lot of us who have busy schedules. And then I would like to emphasize that during said and I's term in the LSG, the focus was making things comfortable for the Iloilo community as we go through our face-to-face classes every semester, which is usually like 1 week, 1 to 2 weeks stuff, around that range. Next in the next term, the focus shifts now to making the transition seamless from online or hybrid to face-to-face. Rest assured that that is noted, and Sed and I will be working towards making it very seamless for everyone, making it very feasible for everyone as much as possible. It's noted, and we will do whatever we can to make everything easier for the Iloilo community. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us now hear from the candidate running for Iloilo Day representative, candidate Joshua Cedric Carmen.
Good afternoon again. As Iloilo's current day representative, I think I've done much of what I promised when I first ran for office 2 months ago. But these 2 months were not enough for me to do everything that I wanted to accomplish. And that's why I'm humbly asking for your votes again to still be your next LSG Iloilo Day representative. Last election, I said that we only wanted one thing, and that is to feel more connected with the UP Law and UP Iloilo community. Now I feel like I feel like we've accomplished that, and we couldn't have done it without the help of our Iloilo Day and Iloilo constituents, our friends. Thank you for the support last year, and I hope that we continue to forge this bond or foster this bond for the years to come. And I hope that you continue to support me, support Earl, and the events of the UP Iloilo community. So for the whole UP Law community, I hope we exercise our right to vote this May 16 to 20. And yeah, that's it. So sa liwat, tani hindi ka malipat, Servicio Cedric to maintain and improve the connection of the City of Love to the UP Law community. For a closer UP Law, a closer UP Iloilo, and a better UP Iloilo, Servicio Cedric, Carmen is still your man. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for Public Relations Officer, Jessica Chica.
Okay. Once again, hello UP College of Law community. I am Jessica Chica, running to be your next Public Relations Officer. In my almost 3 years in the UP College of Law, despite being not a de jure member of the UP LSG, I have been actively supporting the organization in its projects and endeavors. Throughout the years, I have seen how the people in the UP LSG work and their system in general. It is indisputable that the transition from face-to-face to remote learning and vice versa due to the COVID-19 pandemic has posed numerous difficulties to the student body and the college as a whole, and that the UP LSG persevered and performed competently for the past semesters. However, while the organization made commendable efforts to improve the communications with the students, I have noticed that these were not sufficient to fully address the concerns of the UP Law community. With that, I have decided to run for this position to offer the knowledge and skills I have learned from my experiences concerning public relations, hoping that I can contribute to the improvement of communication and information dissemination within the UP Law community. Kaya sa darating na UP LSG General Elections, ano pang hinihintay mo? Best, i-chika mo na. Communicate, heighten, inform, collaborate, assist. Again, I am Jessica Chica, aspiring to be your next UP LSG PRO.
Thank you. Next, let us hear from the candidate running for treasurer, candidate Joshua Philip Geronimo.
As the campaign period draws to a close, I would like to express my thanks to all the people I've met, all the candidates and new connections that I've made during this time, where I've had the immense opportunity to hear your voice. I know the collective future of the UP Law community is a great one, and I can't wait to make this dream come true by serving as your next LSG treasurer. With that, remember to see G in the upcoming elections. Let us all work together for an LSG that leaves no student behind, ensuring that all our resources are put to use in order to unite and empower the UP Law community. Again, count on someone who can count towards an LSG you can bank on. G for good fiscal governance, G for sustainable income generation, and G for a responsible and resilient policy. I am Josh Geronimo, or Josh G, running to be your next LSG treasurer. UP Law, say Geronimo. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, let us have the candidate running for secretary, candidate Frances Dian Bael.
Good afternoon, UP Law. Basic student services are crucial if we hope to learn in the GAN manner. To ensure that no student will be left behind, working systems need to be put in place and helmed by willing and competent leaders. And with my vision, experience, and commitment to serve the student body, I hope to be part of that system that will help the LSG carry out its mandate to serve the UP Law community. Again, thank you all so much for listening today and in the past week. As a final note, let's not forget to exercise our right to vote. The elections will be from May 16 to May 20. Once again, I am Diane Bael, your LSG Secretary. Towards proactive basic student services, carry on with Diane.
Thank you. Next, let us have the candidate running for internal vice president, candidate Luis Enrique Vida.
Thank you. Before I get into it, I want to take this time to thank everyone in the second year batch, whom I've had the pleasure to serve as batch representative for. I'm very grateful that you were all sharing my posts and even, saying thank you in the most random ways that you could. And even to the central board, whom I worked with for the past year. It was a lot of work and it's still a lot of work ahead, but all of you are inspirations to me. And I hope that I make you proud if I get elected as your internal vice president. So for the coming year, I will make sure that our students are at the center. Your concerns will always be addressed, and we will continue creating systems to protect all our rights and welfare. From creating a mind map for our students on the different processes, and even regularly posting of FAQs for the different questions of our students that everyone even needs to know. And even to creating an updated process master list for everyone to access. And lastly, addressing all the needs of our students way quicker than we ever have. These are the things that I promised you that I will do should I be elected. So to end, I'll say something that I've always said in all my RTRs, but I'm not here to present you false and idealistic promises for our college, but rather on the credibility, practicality, and intention that I've had as second-year batch representative. I may be the one running for IVP, pero kayo ang bida ko. So once again, I'm Luis Vida, your second-year batch representative and your next internal vice president. Thank you.
Thank you. And now let us hear from the candidate running for external vice president, candidate Brian Dan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I and the other candidates have been asked questions about our beliefs and platforms. I hope that through this convocation, you, the UP Law student community, will be able to make an informed choice during the elections next week. As a working law student, three-time org president in my undergraduate years, and someone experienced in the production of sports events, I believe that I can make my platforms of uniting for success, external relationships that matter, and raising the bar for Courts 2024 a reality. My view on students engaged in extracurricular activities as volunteers is something that I have worked on over the many experiences in extracurricular activities that I have lived through. The varied experience will help me see eye to eye with all stakeholders, not just with students, but with the UP admin as well. Thank you for allowing me to share my platform to the UP Law student community. If you want to see an LSG that focuses on empowering student volunteers across the College of Law, know that together we can. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, let us hear from the candidate running for president, candidate Victor Cesar Ubaldo.
Good afternoon again, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Law Electoral Commission for organizing the entire general election process. Thank you to the incumbent LSG for a great work. We really appreciate it. And thank you to my co-candidates for stepping up for these positions. Thank you to the entire UP Law community then for listening to us and giving us an opportunity for us to be able to serve you. But then I end with a new question, something a little bit different from what I usually ask in my campaign. And the question is, di ba ang hirap yung law school? Di ba? Di pa kayo nahihirapan dito sa law school? Kasi, I mean, with that in mind, anong gagawin natin? When we encounter a very difficult situation, what is our instinct? It is to ask for help, ask for support. And that is why I really wanted to emphasize this idea of a really thriving community. So kahit nahihirapan ka sa academics, sa law, and everything in life, the solution to that is not more review sessions, not so that you can study the law better. It's also not more academic resources. But the solution I'm proposing is that we need to have a really good, thriving law community behind your back that encourage you through your journey through law school. This is not a journey that is meant to be done alone. As I've emphasized before, I disapprove of the culture that it's every man for himself. Definitely what will make a difference when you graduate here from law school is that you have a really great community behind your backs. Because in the end, we will be helping each other here in law school, and we will be colleagues in the future. You and I will be working with one another, dealing with real clients, and of course, helping the nation. And that is my vision for the entire UP law community. Thank you so much.
Again, we would like to thank all the candidates for answering the questions today and for sharing their platforms and their skills. We would also like to thank everyone who joined us today. And if you weren't able to catch the start of the program of this convocation, this is available on our YouTube channel. So just look for the link posted in our Facebook page. So to the candidates, we also would like you to note that the campaign ban will start tomorrow, May 15, Monday. I will now turn the floor over to the current chairperson of the ELECOM for some words and some additional matters. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for staying. I know this was long and I know everyone's tired. So I'm Air, the current chairperson of the ELECOM. We just wanted to thank all the candidates and the viewers today again for joining us. To the electorate, please make sure to cast your votes during the election proper, which will be next week from May 16 to May 20, 2023. So that's Tuesday to Saturday. All you have to do is go to halalan.upd.edu.ph and sign in using your UP mail. We will also have physical precincts in Diliman and PGC with the exact date and room to be announced. For any grievances or problems, you may proceed to the said precincts or submit them through the tech complaint form, which we will be releasing later on. And with that, we end our convocation for the general elections for the Law Student Government Central Board for the academic year 2023 and 2024. Thank you, everyone. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
If you could stay for a picture, it would be great. I'll stop